Collector here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Go ahead and get you out of here. We got another call here. I don't know who this is, but thanks a lot for the call on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right.
Y'all have a good night.
All right. I don't know who this is. Welcome to the evolution. Your name and where you calling from? Okay.
That was that bill collector. That was the guy trying to give you your Rolex.
Right. That's not who it was at all. You idiot. We're on the Sports Web live on NSPN. I Love St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Harry the Greek, 1252 Chicago Sports. He's calling in again. So
let me give it a shot for you.
Yes, go ahead. Welcome to the Sports Web.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Welcome to the Sports Web.
How's it going?
How are you doing? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Marcos calling from Miami.
Okay, Marcos, what do you have to say about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or do you want to talk about something else?
No, I was looking at something else.
All right, what do you want to talk about?
Thanks for calling the 1-900 number. My name is Harry. How are
Would you shut up and be quiet?
Shut up!
You're calling a sports talk show. You know that, right? So what do you want to talk about, Marcos?
I was looking to call out Peter.
This is Peter.
Marcos Jake Paul's assistant.
Oh, are you serious?
Told you.
Wait, is this live right now?
This is live right now. This is crazy.
This
is crazy. Yes, it is.
Told you.
Wow. Okay,
Sorry.
so welcome to the evolution. I swear to God, we did not plan this, but of course the story was about the Rolex situation. Jake Paul, I interviewed him, asked him a question about Rolexes being given to fighters, and he said, "You know what? Do you want one?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." Not thinking he was going to do that. So
that's crazy. I just got your contact from Nikisa, Jake's manager.
Okay.
I wanted to follow up. So we have Rolex ready to go, and I was calling you to contact you what the best shipping address was. So whenever you get the chance.
I'll tell you what, Peter, why don't you go ahead and take that, make me full screen, pull yourself out. I'll go ahead and talk to the audience. It'll take you less than a minute. And I think that's awesome.
I think it is awesome too. Thank you very much for calling. Let me go. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here live on I Love St. Pete, the hub and amped up sports. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about as we are here on a Tuesday night awaiting Hurricane Ian. So definitely want to hear from you tonight, not only talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and talking about sports in general, but are you prepared for this storm? Are you riding it out? Have you evacuated? The phone lines are open. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Of course, all eyes will be on Sunday night, where your Tampa Bay Buccaneers will host, hopefully, the Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl 55 rematch. But how do we start off the Sports Web like always. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. So we sent out the link. You guys can click on the link. You can be a part of the show. You can text in. You can call in tonight's guests. We'll have Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy starting us off here. Best of the Bay. We'll have Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire of 1252 Chicago Sports. Jason Powers, No Quarter Given podcast of the buckpower.com network. And of course, Powers on Sports podcast at 9 o'clock. And then, of course, your phone calls. So to give you an update on this Buccaneer situation, yesterday they decided to go train down in Miami. Of course, with conditions basically getting worse by the day. We don't know if they're going to play at Raymond James Stadium. We're expecting the storm sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours. I will say this. I'll put my forecaster hat on because I'm not Dennis Phillips, but I did talk to Dennis Phillips today. The track has changed to the south. It is reminiscent of 2004's Charlie, where at the last minute that went south. That's a good thing because where it was projected to go north in the Pinellas County area where I'm at, you would have gotten the brunt of it. We're talking about the eye. We're talking about high winds. We're talking about big time damage. That's not to say you're not going to have some damage in this storm because you have the feeder bands. You have the storm coming on land. Those feeder bands kind of act like, if you will, squall lines. So there could be some isolated tornadoes because there is tornadic activity. That's right, using big words tonight. The worst thing about this storm is it's getting stronger because the forward speed is slowing down, which means it's already a 3, it could be a 4. But once it hits land, it's not going anywhere, so it's going to dump a lot of rain. So just be prepared. I want to hear what you guys are doing tonight. If you're ready for the storm, if you're riding it out, if you're scared, that's okay. We're here for you on the Sports Web. Let me go out to these comments, and then we'll get out to Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. Because I want you to know we're here. We're here together. I get it. There is some fear of this storm, and I understand that. But I've grown up here. I've never faced anything like this before. But it looks like we may have gotten lucky here with this newest tract. Once again, keep on watching this situation as it develops here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right, let's go out to Troy Polamalu. First, Christopher Cole says, hey, guys, we're bracing for a wild couple of days. And we all remember Hurricane Irma, don't we? In 2017, we were fortunate with that track changing, but there were still power outages. There was still a delay in that Bucs season. How could we forget? Where you played the Chicago Bears, 2 weeks later or something along the lines? Because there was damage, and that was like a 1 or 2. So there still could be damage. There could be a lot of flooding. But once again, we're here together to handle it. We'll talk about it. And if you got fears, let them be known. If you're riding it out, let that be known. We're here to talk it through. And we're here also to take your mind off of that. That's why we talk sports on this show. All right. Let's go out to Montrell Jenkins. Yes, we are prepared to ride it out. Go Bucs. So let me go ahead and fire those cannons. Let's go out to Montrell again. Stay safe, guys. Absolutely. Troy Polamalu, when the Bucs play the Chiefs, I'll tune in around the third or fourth quarter since that's how long it takes Leftwich's terrible play calling to make a touchdown.
Shut up!
You know, you are something else. I mean, you act like the Bucs didn't have injuries last Sunday. I mean, they weren't missing Mike Evans, they weren't missing Chris Godwin, and they weren't missing Julio Jones. Now, give it a break. I know you don't like Byron Leftwich there, Troy Polamalu, but give it a break. That offensive scheme would have been a lot better with those weapons in the fold. Let's go out to Jeremiah. Everyone, I hope everyone down there is all right. Let's go out to I Love St. Pete. Brandon says, wow, Peter's the man. Thank you very much. Be safe, Peter, but keep the show rolling as we shall. Eddie Slaughter tuning in. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Florentina, hello. Stay safe, everyone. Orange County now. We have been lucky the past years. Let's pray this will continue. I'm worried about all the animals outside. Yes, keep all your animals inside. Of course, I've got Alexander inside, take all the furniture inside so they don't blow all over the place. With that being said, enough of the weather. Let's go ahead and get this guy on, as we are expecting Harry the Greek to also come on. Let's go out to the best of the Bay, Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy, now a free agent here, always a part of the evolution of Sports Talk Television. And I got to start it out here. How concerned are you about this storm, and are you riding it out? Welcome to the evolution.
Brother, sorry, getting a lot of feedback there. We've done everything we can to prepare for this. We've hunkered down, tied some things down. The family's evacuated. I can tell you that as far as talking about the Bucs hosting the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday night in that Sunday night game of the week, or that Sunday night NFL football, I can tell you that initially the plans, when this hurricane was bearing straight down on Pinellas County, if you will, or Tampa Bay, the initial plans here on this in the Pinellas County area were to move all of our emergency vehicle and personnel, officers, all of our first responders. We're going to move over to Raymond James Stadium and use that as a staging area. So now that the storm's actually moved south or made that right turn a little earlier, I don't think that's the plan as much anymore. So we're not worried about evacuating the entire peninsula. As far as how that'll affect Sunday's game, or whether this game will go on at Raymond James Stadium, it really is going to depend on just what we see in the next 48 hours as far as how long this storm stays here, the flooding, hopefully no devastation, but that'll obviously play into it.
And of course, you work for the city, so go ahead and introduce yourself. Again, this is Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, but you also work for the city, so you can take us kind of behind the curtain, if you will, right?
Right, and that was the initial plan, is that because Peninsula and Pinellas County, most of Pinellas County being at sea level, was to draw all the emergency and first responder vehicles across the bridge there to a higher point at Raymond James Stadium. Very nice big parking lot. Obviously, the facility would be able to hold the personnel, and then after the storm, because they're not going to be going out in the height of the storm, but after the storm, they can then dispatch to all the areas needed. It has made that right-hand turn, so we're thinking about our brethren and sisters down there a little south in Punta Gorda or Sarasota, kind of taking that same path Charlie took a few years back. But we're all kind of in this together, because the storm, like you said, Pete, it's kind of gathered some steam and it continues to do so, and it's going to affect pretty much the entire state of Florida.
Absolutely. Let's go out to the comments here. Let's go out to Mr. Sergio Santana. Bring back the beard, PETA. All right. I will go ahead and give you a Rick. But you're going to get the babyface Blake from here on out. Sorry about that, guys. It's too itchy. It's a change. Get used to it. All right. Roger Shoe says, hey, guys, great show. Stay safe, y'all. And Roger Shoe says, Troy, welcome back, bro.
Acknowledge me.
There for the tribal troll being Roger Shoe. So let's go back to that game there with the Green Bay Packers. Your thoughts? Of course, disappointing as the result there. And it goes back to the 2-point conversion, right? Not able to get it off in time. You lose 5 yards, and that's kind of a microcosm of the game in itself, right?
Right, and it wasn't just even that, because at that point, we get to 12 points, and we're hoping for the 2-point conversion, but really it was just poor offensive execution the entire day. I mean, I got the stats right here, but 2 of 11 on third downs. The Bucs were they actually were 0 for 2 on third downs on the very first drive. They had a 3rd and 1, a 3rd and 5, but due to penalties throughout the rest of the game, they had 6 of their third downs were 3rd down and 12, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 13. So they just constantly kept shooting themselves in the foot. So from that standpoint, the penalties were killing them, but that offensive execution, like John McKay used to say, what did you think about your offense's execution? And what did he say, Pete?
He said, I'm in favor of it.
I'm in favor of it.
What he said. As we're waiting for Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Sports. You guys live right by each other there in Seminole. So really quick, how are things there right now weather-wise?
Just now starting to get the initial outer band. We're starting to get the rain. We will not feel the wind or the impact so much, the full force, or not the full force, but the force of Ian until tomorrow evening, going overnight. Tomorrow night between the hours of like 10 p.m. and then like 6 a.m. on Thursday morning, it's going to be a rough ride. They'll see it a little sooner down there in Sarasota again because of that little bit that burble to the right, if you will, and they're going to get it. It's also going to come in a little stronger, but we're just now starting to get the rain. But the dog and the cat, they're starting to kind of get antsy. So animals have that sixth sense, if you will, and when you start seeing them bugging out, that they're feeling it, and it also gives us pause for cause.
Absolutely. Let's go out to Roger Shoe here. Get Dennis Phillips on to tell us about the storm. He is busy right now with ABC Action News, one of the busiest men out there. We'll get him on in the next couple of weeks, but right now he's doing Dennis Phillips Live. So if you want an update from him, you can get it. But as I said before, the start of the show, the track has changed. It is very reminiscent, if you will, of 2004's Hurricane Charlie, where at the last minute it went to the south. So it may not necessarily have that much of an impact as it was originally thought in the Bay Area here, especially Central Florida. Let's keep on talking about Bucs and Packers. Besides that, what was really the killer is not only the penalty situation, but the fumbles there. Brashard Perryman, Russell Gage, and then, of course, it looks like you got a trick play there with a fake reverse flea flicker with a player down the field for possibly a touchdown. And unfortunately, Scotty Miller drops the ball.
Yeah, I think with Cole Beasley coming back on, but this, you get Mike Evans back this week from the 1-game suspension. Julio Jones is getting a little healthier. You got Chris Godwin and a hamstring possibly no longer the issue. Jalen Darden, again, stepped up a little bit in this game and continued to show why the Bucs have ridden with this kid since last year when he was the undrafted free agent out of the Texas, University of Texas, not University of Texas, but Eastern Texas. That's the thing. Scotty Miller's 36-yard pass touchdown in the NFC Championship game in 2020 may end up being his best play he ever has as a Buccaneer. I think we'll find out in the very near future.
We will, because as soon as those wide receivers get healthy and you're sure that you're going to get back Mike Evans this week, Chris Godwin possibly, and Julio Jones, as we heard from Todd Bowles after the game, that Jones could have played in this game. I mean, I know you don't play. I know you're not a doctor and don't play one on TV, but how do you think about this injury situation? Do you think they're going to get back Godwin, Jones, possibly Donovan Smith on Sunday night? And how much do you think it's going to help this offense out, which has struggled at the beginning of the year? What, averaging 14 points a game? That's unbelievable.
Right, especially when your defense is playing phenomenally and only giving up averaging 9 points a game. If your offense gives your defense a little more support this last Sunday, the defense continues to put on just a stellar performance here in 2022. But as far as getting these players back, it always felt like, oh, Julio's injured and he's got this, and then Chris Godwin with the hammy. And of course, we all held our breath when he came up lame there in New Orleans. Or I'm sorry, it was in Dallas. But I think that maybe what the Buccaneers a week or two ago thought of a luxury, that we can kind of take our time getting these players back. And I think they are healthier now, but I think now it's a little bit more of a, we're still 2-1. I mean, it's not like the bottom hasn't fallen out yet, but I think these players are going to want to get in there and contribute. So I think if they have any chance to play, these injuries are healthy enough, we're definitely going to see them getting back sooner than later.
All right, let's go out to the comments here. Jeremiah says Scotty Miller had a lot to do with the lack of production. That's been the most disappointing aspect. In fact, I felt like ever since Miller has had a good year during that Super Bowl year, he has regressed. Your thoughts, Tampa Bay Ray?
Well, and Sunday, I'm not going to say the guy's not trying, but he's got 2 receptions for 4 yards, but he has a false start penalty for 5-yard loss. So his actual yards on Sunday were -1. And when you're turning in that type of a performance, and they're piecemealing it together with all the injuries we've seen at wide receiver, but we kind of knew it was a numbers game going into this season when Tyler Johnson's no longer on the team, and you got Russell Gage, who, by the way, had a career game this last Sunday. It wasn't so much big in yardage, but as far as 13 passes and 12 catches, that was actually a career day for Gage. And now you got Julio and you got Mike Evans back from suspension and Chris getting a little healthy. So, we're not just poo-pooing here on Scotty Miller. The kid's got heart and he's a hustler, but it really does become a numbers game.
It does become a numbers game, and that number becomes 0 at this point. Once you get back, of course, Evans, Godwin, Julio Jones. Of course, you talk about Russell Gage, Jalen Darden making plays on this team. And then you just picked up Cole Beasley. So where does Scotty Miller fit in? Yes.
I noticed you didn't mention Brashard Perryman.
Brashard Perryman, I mean, he's still – and, of course, that's Harry the Greek's favorite wide receiver. And he fumble. He still has that speed at the end of the day. So you're exactly right. That wide receiving room gets a lot heavier at that point. There's a lot more competition there, and that's where Scotty Miller, unless he plays great special teams, he's not going to have a place on this team. Just saying. All right, let's go back out to the comments. Christopher Cole says, The new track is going right through my house. Hopefully not, my friend. Take shelter. If you're riding it out, God bless you and God bless your family. Let's see. Ben Cornett says defense has held their end of the bargain so far, but this past weekend, it bit us in the behinds. The inexperience of the offensive line showed with all those penalties, and Evans was definitely missed. Despite all that, we still had a chance to tie it late. Offense has to start getting it going from here on out. Great stuff from Ben Cornett.
How about them Bucs, baby?
And he's exactly right. Besides the 2 first drives there by the defense, they basically shut down Aaron Rodgers and that supposed high-powered offense, right?
Yeah, and that was like the hardest pill for me to swallow, Pete, was the fact that the Buccaneers got buccaneered by the Packers. And what I mean by that is it was so hot. The humidity was pasty there. I mean, Shaunecia Bryant, who I just love this gal, she even said that, walking out of the stadium, and she's a Floridian, she's used to
Happy
this heat.
birthday, sugar.
Yes. And we took a game where we should have basically kept Green Bay's defense out on the field and let our offense feed off of that using the elements, which we know early games here in Florida, even though it's a 4:30 versus a 1:00, we still should have had that to our advantage because we train here since June and July.
I want you to stop for a minute. Hold on. Let's go full screen there. You want to know where Dennis Phillips is? He's right behind you there. Look
There
at
he
him.
is. Yes, he's
There
he's
you go,
locking.
right there.
He's-
Suspenders. All right, go ahead and finish.
No, and I'm glad it's a segue because it's the weather. We should have been able, and this Buccaneers defense, not only did they after those first 2 drives just shut this thing down, but they were on that field a very long time. The first half, it seems like it was the Buccaneers defense, and I think Tom came out for a play or two, and the Buccaneers offense, and even still to hold it to the very end, this team is still very much a good built, good put together team, very well built. But I just felt that was the hardest pill for me to swallow was we lost to take advantage of the cheeseheads coming down here in our house in our weather, and we should have turned the coin on them. Instead, we were ourselves the ones who were pretty much decimated because our offense couldn't keep the drives rolling.
You're exactly right. And I tell you right now, if you have Mike Evans in that game or a combination of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or Julio Jones, do you feel better about winning that game? And then I'll ask you this, Ray, after that performance by the Packers and the Bucs, if they do have a rematch in the NFC Championship game or in a playoff game, do you feel that the Bucs are the better team? Because that's how I felt. I felt like the Packers didn't do anything to win that game besides the first 2 drives. They don't impress me at all. In fact, I feel like if they had an Evans or a Chris Godwin or they're fully healthy on offense, they win that game going away.
Right. And really, it starts up front. This is like this, we say this about it every time, but really, the offensive execution, the problems, the going for the 2-point late in the game, the delay of game, it really is because, the up front, we've got guys up there. Brandon Walton, the kid from Florida Atlantic, the Seminole Warhawk graduate, steps in. He's the 3rd stringer at left tackle. We're putting this team together, and the execution really starts up front. So if you're asking me if we play Green Bay again later in the season and we've got our offensive line getting healthy at the right time, I don't think it's any question that this is a runaway game. Of course, any given day, and Mo is a friend of the winner, and Mo is a good friend to have in your corner. But I mean, this team, for all intents and purposes, the Bucs were still right there at the very end, even though they constantly shot themselves in the foot.
And of course, we got Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire, in the lobby there. Of course, he said the defense was a lot better than advertised. Is that how you feel this defense did a good job of stifling the Bucs offense? Of course, we talk about injuries with the Bucs, but of course they did get after Brady, and even without a Jair Alexander, they were able to shut down the receiving threats for the Bucs, right?
Right, and we knew with that nose guard over Hainsey and Kenny Clark, and we know with Rashawn Gary and the fact that they were going to put pressure up front. They took it. They like when I said also with the weather, the Buccaneers got buccaneered. What I basically also mean is it's usually our aggressive defensive front and Todd Bowles schemes blitzes that are usually making other teams' offensive lines look silly and lost, or causing teams to take false starts or delay of game calls to stop drives. And instead, it just basically got turned on its head, and they threw it right back at us, and we took it all the way.
All right, let's go out to the comments, and then we'll get out to our other guest, Mr. Harry the Greek, co-host of the Sports Web, co-host right here, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy from the past. Let's go out to Rincey Hill. Miller can't beat push coverage. Agree with that?
Yeah, it's all speed and get behind. I mean, he's still, like I said, it's all hustle with this kid, but he's not going to play push coverage. He's not going to be able to get free. We saw that he was getting manhandled like a rag doll on Sunday.
He was. All right, let's go out to Troy Polamalu. Thanks, Peter. Peter said he wouldn't grow back his beard until I came back. So I came back.
Shut up!
And now go away. Christopher says if we play on Monday night, it would give us one more day to get healthy. We shall see about that. We'll talk about that in just a little bit on the contingency plans by the National Football League, possibly playing in Miami, New Orleans, Minnesota. Ugh, I don't want to play in any of those places. This comic, Gruden 2023.
Shut up!
Troy Polamalu, you can't believe we cut Johnson and Grayson for that bum Scotty Miller. You know, Johnson has not made an impact for the Houston Texans at all. Grayson was hurt. So once again, you're just real Floridians only trust Paul Delgado. This is what
Shut up!
remember that flea flicker Leftwich called against the Packers. Gosh, he's so horrible. He thought we were the Oregon Ducks. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get this guy on. Here we go. All right, Mr. Harry, the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire at 1252 Chicago Sports. Welcome to the Evolution. I got to start out here. Are you prepared for Hurricane Ian? Are you riding out here? Welcome to the Sports Web.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. What are you eating? Your hurricane snacks?
Tzatziki sauce.
Oh, okay. You know, peanuts.
These nuts.
Shut up. All right. I knew getting these two together again, like the
I knew I should have not held that ladder for you a few hours ago.
He should have pulled it right out from under me.
You really should have. Of course, Ray always pulling the carpet out from under us here on the Evolution, taking it to the gutter. With that being said, Harry, are you prepared for this storm? Welcome.
How can you get prepared for something like this, guys? I mean, it looks like the path. I mean, it's still going to jog back and forth. Tomorrow, it's going to be right over Tampa. And then 4 hours later, it's going to hit Fort Myers. And then 2 hours later, it's going to hit Sarasota. It's going to go in and out and in and out. It almost sounds pretty good, but this is not the kind of in and out that I like.
No, that was him for the record. That was Harry for the record.
That was definitely him. We're talking with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, of course, Harry the Greek, and we've been talking about that loss by the Bucs on Sunday versus the Packers by 2 points. I mean, your thoughts on it? You talked about it. This Packer defense was a lot better than advertised, and you're kind of right.
No, I wasn't kind of right. I was dead right about that actual game. I didn't want to see the Buccaneers lose it. The game could have won either way. Okay. Now, I don't want to talk about how it became close at the end, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Look, the Bucs weren't ready for Green Bay's offense. They just couldn't stop anybody in the first drive. It was touchdown, and then it was punt, fumble, punt, interception, punt, and whatever, the whole game.
Right.
Both defenses got after the quarterbacks. It's just that Green Bay's a little bit healthier. Aaron Rodgers made a couple of different more plays, and that was the difference in the game. Now, did they really score that touchdown at the end of the game? I'm sorry, guys. I watched it 5 times. There were 0 seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
I mean, you test fate twice. They finally called a penalty on the second one during the 2-point conversion. The play never should have went off. Not saying that he wouldn't have had the 6 points.
Sure.
But let's face it, man. I mean, the clock went to 0.
Hey, Harry,
go ahead.
Harry, Green Bay got away with one earlier in the game too, though. I mean,
I get it. I
Okay.
get it. What I'm saying is, at the end of the game, it never even should have been there. I was glad they didn't call it. And then I'm looking at the TV going, does he not hear the play? Come on, get the clock, snap the ball, let's go.
Well, who is that on? Is that on Leftwich? Is that on Todd Bowles? Is that on Tom Brady changing in the play? It's inexcusable. It can't happen. You're exactly right. That touchdown play looked like it was at 0. Of course, they were able to get it off somehow, but then they were not.
It didn't, Pete. It was 0, then they snapped the ball. It was the 2-point conversion. You're going to say whose fault was it? Tom Brady? Or was it Leftwich? I'm going to tell you it was Leftwich, and I'm going to tell you why. Is
Mhm.
Tom Brady really calling a running play on a draw on a 2-point conversion? I
That's
don't
what I,
think so.
that's what I hear.
Really?
And well, I'm telling you, and that would have worked. And I'll tell you, I am
No,
not.
it was genius, Ray. That thing would have been good from 15 yards.
Yeah, but I'm not, and I'm not a fan. You got Leonard Fournette. He's 242 pounds of bulk muscle, and I know they got Rashawn Gary and they got Kenny Clark at nose guard, and they got this and that. But give the guy a 28 or a 27 pitch and run something like that, or run the delay up the middle, and it was there. I'm not a fan of sending in a pat, even if you've got 72 wide receivers and they're all Hall of Famers. Why take the chance when you've got a workhorse like Leonard Fournette? You just gave this guy a $21 million contract. He's your horse. The guy, he ran 25 times against the New Orleans Saints last week. You know how many rushes he had this last week? Yesterday, he had what? 12. So he had 25 rushes, 24 against New Orleans, 12 carries for 35 yards. You want to talk about bad execution and bad coaching? First of all, the Bucs got outcoached. LaFleur outcoached this coaching staff, and I'm not putting it all on
I
Bowles.
wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
I wouldn't go that far, Ray. I'm going to have to agree with you respectfully, but I'm going to also disagree with you respectfully, because that game plan that the Green Bay Packers came in with, they had 2 successful drives. After that, they got shut down completely.
Yeah.
And you'd have to agree with that too, Ray.
Well,
I think both teams called very good offensive game plans, but one team was successful because they were healthy. This is the only reason why the Green Bay Packers beat this team. So, if they do both make it to the playoffs, which they probably are going to, and when they finally meet each other in the playoffs, I'm going to tell you now, you give me a healthy offensive line for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or the same current offensive line that has been able to play consistently throughout the course of the year, this Green Bay team loses by 2 touchdowns. End a conversation on that one. Let me
Agree.
drop the mic. They will absolutely destroy this Green Bay team. They're not as good as what they were advertised in the past couple of years. Defensively, I will put this Green Bay team up against anybody in the National Football League, but offensively, they are very challenged. That's as good as they're ever going to be. Tampa has nothing but upside when they get Godwin and they get Evans back. Okay, and then Julio Jones. This is as good as the offense you're going to see from Green Bay is what you've seen. They have to play defense and run the football. Tampa doesn't. Tampa can run the football, play defense, and open it up in the passing game. That's where Green Bay lacks that. They just caught Tampa, and I'm being very long-winded, not loquacious with a Leo word, but Tampa had to play this particular style of game plan. And when they got down by 2 touchdowns, it played right into the hands of Green Bay. If they don't score that first touchdown, Ray, I'm telling you right now, you wouldn't have seen as many passes. You would have seen a very ugly running game.
I'll tell you what. Let's go on to the text.
Oh, I want to hear Ray's rebuttal to that, because I don't ever really disagree with Ray.
All right, Ray, go ahead.
Especially about the coaching. Now that I said that, what are you thinking?
I know I totally agree with you about the fact that I agree with basically everything you're saying. The fact that what I saw this week, the separation of church and state, and what I mean by that is that we thought this was going to be a romantic story the entire season. Oh, Byron Leftwich is going to do all the offense with the greatest of all time. Todd Bowles is going to control the defense, and even getting down to that delay game, getting out of the play later in the game, what do you call them? But earlier in the game, when they're having the problems with the executions and getting them in there and the penalties, I think we're starting to see a chasm, if you will.
Wow.
A little bit of a break in the fact that, I don't think Todd Bowles is going to suddenly step on Byron Leftwich's foot, but I think that we need to make sure that we know who's coaching this team and who's making these calls, because it almost felt like when I see the delay game, the late call, the penalties, the lack of execution, it reminds me of Chicago when Tom thought it was 4th down on 5th down. And that was also, I turned to you, Harry and Peter, we were down at the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla, and I said that was on a coaching staff because they relied on Tom to automatically know what down it was. And they should have been in his ear telling him, okay, Tom, it's 4th down. Don't try to throw the break short.
And you know, Ray, I'm always critical on the Buccaneers coaching staff.
Yeah, you do.
But that was then. That was with the chuck it and duck it master, risk it, no biscuit, okay? But this coaching staff, this one, they walk on water.
All right. I don't know about that. We got Harry.
Oh yeah.
No handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Chicago Sports. We got Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. We're about to get Jason Powers. Powers on Sports
Hey
Podcast.
guys.
Porter Given podcast on buckpower.com.
Right here,
Yeah.
you have the Tres Amigos.
Yes. Yes, you do. And we'll stay on for a
This
little
is the original 3 right here. Well, for me it
is
was.
the original 3. Absolutely. Let's go out to Roger here. Play the funk for the Greek. No. Sean
Why?
says, because I don't want to. Hey, Peter H. Blake. Of course, go Pack, go. I'll give him the.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Because he's a Packer fan. He wanted to brag about it. You can call up on the phone lines if you're a Packer fan. You want to brag. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Pay Cooper Rush. Cut Dak. I'm not ready to say that.
Shut up!
Yeah, it was definitely on the clock. I also think the Packers went way too soft on that last drive. Roger Shue says, blame it on Giselle. Let's not be ridiculous. Roger. All right. I think Bull's by far best defensive coordinator in football. You guys agree?
No.
No?
No.
The way that defense is playing right now has been tremendous.
Those are your players. He's got a great defensive scheme. I really love and respect Todd Bowles. Is he the best? No.
Who is?
Dennis Allen.
There you go.
I think.
Okay.
Maybe.
I guess. To me, I always go back to Super Bowl 55, where basically they shut down the Kansas City Chiefs before anybody shut down the Kansas City Chiefs. And that was not only on the defense, but also Todd Bowles' scheme. Just saying. All right, let's go out to Troy Polamalu. Been saying Miller and Sandwich, he's calling them Leftwich, are horrible, but nobody.
Sandwich.
Yes.
Well, hold on, man. He's not putting in the word bologna sandwich.
See, you know what?
Shut up!
Let's see
From
here.
now on, he has to. You know what? Since everybody's got to be identified by something, let's call him roast beef.
Don't go there. No, not at all. How about this?
How about no?
How about this?
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
I care because I love Troy Polamalu.
Well, of course you do. They were two different play calls, says Christopher Cole. Renzi says, why would we travel to Minnesota for a home game? So many stadiums that are close, a neutral site being talked about by the NFL. Sean says 3 successful drives, fumbled on the goal line. Sean, again, you can't say that the Packers played that whole game without Jare, which might be the best player. Agree with that. One of the best corners in the league. Kyle says, who says that Tampa makes it that far in the NFC? The NFC is wide open. Julio also is a bust. Probably will be out most of the season with a torn PCL.
May I take that?
Yes, you can. Go ahead, and then we'll come out to Jason Powers. Stand by, Jason. Go ahead, Harry.
Let me tell you why I think Tampa makes it to the NFC Championship game.
Okay.
Not because they've showed you that much this year, because they haven't showed you shit. Sorry. Okay. Offensively, it's been very boring. It's running the football and, an occasional passing. It's a very balanced attack, which people weren't accustomed to seeing. Talk to me after they play Kansas City and they have a couple of wide receivers getting back, hopefully. Okay. Because this team has many different hats that they put on throughout the course of the year. Unlike they were a one-trick pony in the past couple of years because they didn't have that balanced attack. Now they do. This team can play smash mouth football and doesn't have a problem with it. They can also play finesse football. Talk to me in about 6 weeks when you see this team with maybe 2 tops, 3 losses. Then after that, they run the table. Mark my words. Watch it. This defense is for real. This defense will keep them in every single football game. Even if they're not healthy this week, I'm going to give you an early position. Play a prop bet and get 3 picks. Two turnovers and a pick. I'm sorry, 2 picks and 1 turnover by Patrick Mahomes. Anybody want to take that action? Because this defense can make it happen.
I like it. There you go. Harry the Greek with his, of course, predictions and being a professional handicapper extraordinaire. He's going to make you some money. Leftwich. Troy Polamalu again. Leftwich is so bad he drove Brady to depression and a divorce. Once again, this is what
shitter!
Kyle says at the current moment, neither Green Bay or Tampa Bay look like they will make it past Philly, but it is week 3. What are you talking about? Everybody's just jumping on the bandwagon that Philly is the best team in the
Hey,
National Football League.
Pete,
Week 3.
can I ask you a question, though, Pete?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and hold off. Let's go on and get Jason Powers on Sports
Poor
Podcast.
Ray.
I'll ask Jason this question.
Testing speakers on StreamYard. Sounds like they're working.
Well, I don't know what that was. Hold on.
What the hell was that?
I don't know what's going on. All right, so we got Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. Reporter Kevin, welcome to Evolution. How are you doing tonight?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear. Okay, I don't know what is going on there. So we'll try to get his.
Let's all do that to Peter. Look.
I heard Jason.
How about that? All right.
Hey,
go ahead.
so while Jason fixes his audio or his headphones, let me ask you guys this. I'm not here to accuse. It's just we got a hurricane in the area, so I feel like I have a little bit of autonomy to go off the res a little on this one. Does anyone else feel that it was almost like a staged, let's see how the public reacts to it, that the 3 Brady children would be on the sideline greeting him and Giselle wouldn't be there? Now, I'm not saying she's not off feeding the hungry or she's on some modeling shoot in Brazil. I'm not accusing her of being a bad mom. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that I've seen the kid we saw, Jack and Tom, hug in Green Bay after the championship win there in 2020, but it just felt like, we saw the kids on the sideline. Tom comes over, hey world, look at me. I'm seeing my kids, but who's not here? What do you all think? It just, I don't know why, but it felt to me like I almost felt like they were trying it on for size. Let's put this shirt on and see if it fits. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Talking about shirts, I don't know why you're not wearing the muscle hamster shirt.
I save it for Sunday, Harry. You know that.
Please don't. No. How about that? Let's see here. Let's read the rest of these comments and we'll get out to Jason Powers here. Again, Philly is impressive, but let's not crown them the NFC champs and the Super Bowl champs yet. I agree, Harry. This staff walks on water, but Bruce Arians always walked on beer. Roger Shue says FGB. Roger Shue with the Arby's. I don't know what that means.
I don't get it. What was FGB? I don't get it.
I know what it is. Let's not go there. Sean says, I agree. Philly definitely looks better, but I trust Brady and the Bucs will be healthy later on. Packers have all these young wide receivers. They will have to get better. And Sean, again, read what I just wrote. Philly's going to come back to the pack. Mark my words. I'll go ahead and give you this.
How about them Bucs, baby?
I like it. All right, good stuff, Sean. Let's go out to Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. Can you hear us now?
I'm good.
All right, my friend. Good stuff. So what are your thoughts on this Bucs loss to the Green Bay Packers?
This one came down to just end of the game execution. I think the defense is real. I think you see the real struggle with Mike Evans not being in the lineup Sunday. I think if Evans plays, I think the Bucs would have won the game. The matchups would have been different. The coverages would have been different. And I think you would have had an easier time moving the ball. And we've got to figure out this red zone efficiency. I think the inability to create any chunk plays has been the issue here in the last week or, obviously since Evans got ejected in New Orleans and throughout this game. So you have to find ways to make chunk plays, and Brashad Perriman, Gage, Scotty Miller just aren't creating a lot of chunk plays.
What?
You said the magic words for Harry, his favorite wide receiver of all time, Brashad Perriman.
Sto diavolo del Malaca, Brashad Perriman, stachidiamo.
Hey, listen here. You know what? I don't even know what you just said.
Oh my God! Who the hell cares?
I just had to look over. I just had to look over the wall because my Greek mother is here, and thank God her eyes were closed because I would be getting my ass beat right now.
Malaka is not a good word there, Harry the Greek. You're not supposed to say Malaka.
No, what I just said, the word Malaka, was probably the nicest thing I said in that statement. Trust me.
All right, Tampa Bay Ray, come back on. I don't know what the heck happened there, but we love to have you here on the.
Thanks, Jamie.
I gotta ask. Can I ask everybody?
Sure.
What's everybody's hurricane drink? The hurricane party started yet? What's the hurricane drink tonight?
What's the hurricane drink, Harry the Greek?
Squirt.
Yeah, I mean, nothing exciting here. It's Gatorade for me and water. And I actually had the roommate today go out and get water and groceries. So nothing alcoholic yet, but It's supposed. I said yet.
It's bourbon with a water chase, guys.
Of course
There
it
you
is.
go.
It has to be in order to be on this show. Harry, the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire. By the way, how did you do this week, Harry, with your picks? Go ahead and brag.
Did very well. I had 2 wrong, which was more wrong than I had in week 1. But we don't want to talk about the week before. This was never mind. That I wanted to like throw up in my mouth. My picks in week 2 were so bad that I wouldn't blame if people sent me death threats. That's how bad it was.
Yes.
But this past week was very, very, very good. 2 wrong that I had. Which one was it? My game of the week, which was the Monday night game. I thought the Giants would absolutely destroy the Dallas Cowboys. What was the other loss?
Ugh. And by the way, is that one of the biggest surprises of the week besides Indianapolis and, of course, Jacksonville putting it on the
That was the other
Chargers?
loss. That was my other loss. My 2 top picks of the week were the Chargers and the Giants, and they both lost. But, dude, I had a really good week. It was just
Peter,
a very, very
that
good week.
Cooper Rush is real. He's a player. He's a good player.
I mean,
I had Kansas City losing. I had a lot of your big favorites losing.
Jason, do you think it's if he continues to play like this, where he's winning games and
No.
Cowboys?
No. But I'll say this: the leash will get shorter on Dak. The leash will not be an unlimited leash for Dak if 5-6 weeks from now they're struggling and they're still struggling offensively to move the ball. That leash will be shorter.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, Harry, what do you see from
Let's get easy. I had the Giants as my biggest team this week. They were -1 at home. I liked them primarily because of Saquon Barkley and the mediocre play by Danny Dimes. What I really liked about it is that their defense is mediocre at best. Okay, and I thought they would be able to, contain Cooper Rush. With that being said, I think Dallas had a lot of success not because they're a great team. It's because they went up against a very subpar type of defense. Let this Dallas team with Cooper Rush go up against this Green Bay defense or this Tampa defense, and they would have scored. Let me think. Maybe once in 2 games. It's horrible, man. It's just horrible. They're not that good.
I agree, Harry.
They're not that good, Jason.
I agree. Against an elite defense, is Cooper Rush going to light it up? I'm going to say no. But against the mediocre and the average teams, he just looks comfortable running the offense in the pocket. I just think.
And from someone that watched that game yesterday, just to let you know, there's my buddy Ray. Thank God he came back. I was kind of missing you, buddy.
So out to Tampa Bay, Ray here. Your thoughts on week 3 from the NFL? Your biggest shocker, was it Indianapolis over KC? The Jaguars over the Chargers? The Cowboys over the Giants? I mean, what was your biggest shocker?
The Dolphins over the Bills to stay undefeated, but that was right up there with Matt. What are you laughing at?
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to go ahead and pat himself back. Let's come full screen here. Go ahead. Go ahead, Pat.
Oh, that's what it was.
Get your
that was another underdog team that I said, don't take the points. Play them on the money line.
There you go. You did good. Of course, Ken Dorsey going crazy there, but go ahead and expound on this, Tampa Bay Ray, about your thoughts on the Dolphins versus the Bills.
Well, it just goes to the thing everybody forgets is you get rid of Brian Flores, who was putting together a pretty good defensive team down there in Miami. You bring in Mike McDaniel, you bring in Tyreek Hill, you got Waddle, you got Tua starting to come into his own and maybe starting to make a case that he is the guy. And the Bills usually have success even in Florida, even in September, which is what you would have hoped the Bucs would have had against the Packers last week. But the Packers hung in there, and not only did they get beat on 40 minutes of possession to Buffalo for 20 for Miami. They got beaten field position. They got beat in yards. But at the end of the day, they found a way to win. And, it's not – I think Buffalo is still the best team in not only that division, one of the best, if not the best teams in the AFC. But Miami showed that they can really hang in for a fight, and it makes that AFC East an interesting division.
Harry, is Miami for real with Tua?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Without question, they are. I think Tua Tagovailoa, who, by the way, said and told everybody, don't give up on this kid yet. He was injured. They rushed him back too soon. They didn't have a good game plan for him. There was always a ton of excuses. If that young man stays healthy, this Miami Dolphins team is a team to look out for in the AFC. Period.
And here's the big improvement is the head coach. He's an offensive mind. He knows how to call offense. The previous regime was not an offensively gifted coaching staff. This guy knows how to coach offense.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, guys. And that seems to be the trend around the league. Although, the Bears have, what is his name? I can't say it.
Eberflus?
Eberflus. And then, of course, the Bucs have Todd.
God bless you.
And then, with that being said, let's go out to these comments here. Let's go out to Ben Cornett. If Middle Tennessee State can beat the Hurricanes in the city of Tampa, well, I like it. I'm actually going to.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Of course, the team that is undefeated, and let's go out to you, Mr. Jason Powers, would be who?
We're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Is that what we're talking about?
Florida
He's
State.
talking about your
Florida
Seminoles.
Seminoles. Former Jason Powers used to be a former kicker for Florida State.
Yes, sir.
We are going to know where the Seminoles are the next 3 weeks. They host Wake Forest, go to NC State, host Clemson. So we are going to know if they are real, if they are good, or if they are a paper champion in the next 3 weeks.
Hey, Jason, can I ask you a question then? I remember talking with you and being a former kicker. So being a kicker, you understand a little bit more the logistics and the, of the kick. What's it like for that blocking up back for the Miami Dolphins that got a punt stuck in his rectum on Sunday? How much pain do you think that kid might have been in Sunday night?
And here's the mistake. In all seriousness, here's the mistake that was made. It's a tight punt formation because they were punting from like their 1 or 2 yard line. So if you notice that play, first of all, the up back, he took a step or 2 back. You can't take a step or 2 back as the up back because the punter has 2 or 3 less yards to get the punt off. So if you back up at all as the up back, he's going to kick you he's going to hit you in the butt or the back with the ball.
That's a great point, Jason. That's a great point.
He was at fault because if you noticed, if you didn't, it's hard to see, but he took a step back as the up back. That's why Morstead hit him in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I do have something to add for Peter.
Sure, go for it.
In the next 3 games,
yes,
I will give anybody on this panel 5-1 on their money.
Josh Rosen.
Oh no,
Okay.
I wish. My hero.
Okay.
I'll give anybody 5-1 on their money. That the Florida State Seminoles go 1-2 with 5-1 on their money. I will give anybody in this panel 3-1 on their money if they go winless in these next 3 games. Any takers?
I think they'll win at least 1 game. I think this is the game. The Wake Forest game is the game to win.
Now here's a realist, Peter. How many are they going to win? All 3.
Well, I mean, I would say at least 2 out of 3.
Listen, I'm only busting your balls when I'm doing this, Peter, because I know you're a Seminole fan. They're a decent team. However, don't get too excited on this team. I mean, there's nobody better than Georgia right now, for God's sakes. This team, it's just give them the trophy, for God's sakes.
Are they as good as Georgia? No, they're not in that same type of conversation at the end of the day. But it is nice to see Mike Norvell turn the team around.
It really is. It is nice to see it.
Right. Now, can it last? Can they sustain it? You hope so, because what's going on here locally right now with Coach Jeff Scott was tough. You try to build, and I know we're switching to college football, and that's okay. That's what we do here on the Sports Web. You would think after that effort against the Florida Gators that you would go on the road and have that momentum, and they got their doors blown off. You have Miami losing. You have Florida losing to Tennessee. So at this point, Florida college football fans need a team to root for, and hopefully it's Florida State.
I mean, it is good to switch gears. I mean, we could be talking about like what's cooking in the South or something like that.
Oh yeah,
we're not.
I'm so excited. I mean, what did you have for dinner?
Hey guys, you know what I'm most excited about, and Jason, I'd like to know your thoughts on this. Is that honest to gosh, a year ago tonight, not tonight, but last season, coming out of last season, it really looked like name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal and the stuff that was going on was just going to completely blow up college football. And I think that it's a good thing that these universities or these conferences are starting to try to rein it in, although they seem to want to take in and they don't. But I think what we're seeing, guys, is that we're seeing competitive football on any given week. And it's actually not the worst thing in the world to have transfer portals where players can go to the best situations and teams can get stacked up and we can have some really good college football.
I'll tell you what, hold that thought. Let's go out to the phone lines here. We got Mr. Curtis from Newport Richie. You're on with Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Chicago Sports. And, of course, the power man himself, my tag team partner of the world, Mr. Jason Powers. Powers on Sports Podcast and No Quarter Given podcast on the buckpower.com network. Got all that quiz afterwards. Go ahead, Curtis. Shoot.
First off, let's just say I hope all you guys are safe wherever you guys are.
Well, how are you? Are you safe? Did you evacuate? Are you riding this out?
No. Where I live at in Newport Richie, I'm in a non-evacuation.
Okay.
Oh, so he's not in no place really. Good job.
Well, he's in a non-evacuation zone, so that's a good thing. Okay, Curtis, good.
What's up, Curtis?
And you know what, Harry? Just for you, I'm going to be here in a cloud of smoke all night. Okay?
That's my boy, baby. and Ray.
Yes!
And Ray is upset because you're not doing what I told you. Puff, puff, pass.
Oh, you're screwing up the rotation.
I mean, technically, I'm the only one here, so I'll just go sit on the other couch and pass it to that guy over there.
Good for you.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen,
the guy on the couch from Half Baked. So that's who you're talking about at this point.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Key West is getting absolutely pummeled right now. They're getting the outer bands.
And again, that storm is 120 miles an hour. It's a Category 3, could turn into a 4. It is moving on the same path as Hurricane Charlie. So that's good news. We'll see if it changes path again. With that being said, Curtis, give me your thoughts on college football. You wanted to call in. What do you want to talk about tonight?
Yes.
Well, I don't know, man. This is a very weird football season. Even college football, like I got a buddy. He's an Ohio State fan. I like Michigan. I think Alabama's going to fall sometime this year.
They're garbage.
I really thought they were going to fall to Texas. Texas had them on the road.
Yes,
and
they did.
I thought they were going to fall to Texas, and I was like, oh my God. They pulled it out. I mean, that kid Bryce Young is good, but he's not great.
No, he's not great. I think he's somewhat been exposed, if you will, guys, because defensive coordinators have his tendencies at the end of the day, and the talent isn't as great at the wide receiving position as it was last year. Just saying, I get it. Nick Saban has a factory there, but I feel like Harry does. Georgia is clearly the best team in college football. And if they could stay injury free, there's nobody stopping that team.
I definitely agree with Harry. They are definitely head and shoulders above pretty much anybody else in college
God,
football.
they're so good.
Yeah.
And it's all about health. And speaking of health, that's the same thing I said about our Bucs. Like, if our receiver room was healthy, I don't think we would have lost that game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I look at. That's what I say. That's what I take out of the game, and I get it. No disrespect to Sean Murphy, because I know you're a Packer fan, but I honestly don't feel like the Packers are better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They're not.
Maybe this game, but not going forward. Not with all the weapons and Tom Brady. And to that point of everybody saying, well, to Kyle's point of, Philly is going to be, how do you know Tampa's going to get there? Because he got the greatest of all time in Tom Brady. You feel like, after a year of losing that divisional playoff game where he says unfinished business, it's unfinished business, that this team wants to win a Super Bowl, that they have the talent to win the Super Bowl. They just got to stay healthy.
And here's the other thing, guys. After Sunday night, the schedule gets a lot more favorable the next 5 weeks.
Yes.
So they're going to have an opportunity, even if they have to continue to play some of these other guys, that they're going to have the opportunity to not be in such competitive games. They're going to have the opportunity to beat some teams, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Seattle, that they're going to see that aren't going to be nearly as formidable defensively as they've seen these first 4 weeks.
And from someone that's played in the game before, in that terminology, we call that those are get right games, guys.
Get right
Trust me,
games.
those are get right games. Oh, and by the way, just for everybody that's been really tuned into the hurricane, I think we're going to breathe a little sigh of relief. Mr. Jim Cantori has now left Clearwater Beach,
Yeah.
and he's in Punta Gorda, baby.
Oh!
Yes! Yes!
Here, we'll fire the DJ.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, but he's left the building. Ray, you wanted to say something, then we'll get back to you in a moment here, Curtis. Go ahead, Ray.
No, I was going to actually ask Curtis because we were talking about Georgia and weird college football, and then Curtis mentioned the Buccaneers, and I was going to ask Curtis just a off-the-cuff question. What are your thoughts, Curtis, on the rookie punter, Jake Camarda, and the job he's doing for the Buccaneers this year? We saw him get us out of some jams there Sunday. I think this kid is locked down, really doing a great job. What do you think?
Good point. Go ahead.
All I'm gonna tell you is he was worth the pick that we took him with, fourth round pick.
Yeah.
And I mean he just looks great. Like that kid doesn't buckle under pressure. He looks like that kick he had in the end zone. Most punters, listen, most rookie punters I think would have lost their cool with that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In the end zone like that. But you know that kid. He goes out there, he does his job, and he does his job well. And you know, Virtual Aguayo couldn't do that. Did I say that?
You did. You kind of did. Absolutely. All right. What else, Curtis? What do you think about the aspect of the Bucs possibly, being distracted by this hurricane? I know it's human, but at the end of the day, Tom Brady talked about it, how he feels like this team will be ready to go. Do you feel like they should play in Tampa, even with the weather conditions? Do they play in Tampa, or do they decide a neutral site like Minnesota? And would you feel bad about that?
I don't think they really care right now. They
Okay.
got bad. I think they got a bad taste in their mouth from that Green Bay game, even though they didn't lose bad. I mean, it could have been, a lot worse, but it was a back and forth game the whole. And you lose by 2 points. I mean, it's not like you got blowed out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you're down. Like I said on Sunday, you're down your top three receivers. You're down left tackle. You're down a center. You got practically a brand new starting offensive line. Are you serious? And we're only 3 games in. Okay, so like people. I can't believe I'm gonna say this. Like Aaron Rodgers, just relax, please. Jesus Christ.
Hey, excuse me, bartender. I'll have what he's smoking because he's talking some serious knowledge right there, 100%. And the game against the Kansas City Chiefs this week, it's, if you remember 2020 Super Bowl 55, this Buccaneers team would lose a game like they did against the Packers. They would win 3, they'd lose 1, then they'd win 2 or 3, and then lose 1, because it seems like they would learn more from the losses and they would take that aggression and take that knowledge into the next game. So I know I'm setting them kind of up big on a cliff here, but this game against Kansas City, it's not a make or break game for the season, but it's going to be a make or break game to tell us what kind of metal this team is made out of and where their character or where their heads are at right now.
Harry, I got a question for you. I am shocked that the Kansas City Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites.
Well,
Wow.
not quite. They're 2 points, but if they're 2.5-point favorites, bet the house on it, because I don't think Jason knows this, but there's a thing called the 88% rule. Whenever the road team is a 2.5-point favorite at game time, 88% of the time, the home team not only covers, but they win. But you know what's not really a shocker? That point total with 2 healthy teams would be 54 to 56 points would be the over and under. It's 45 points, guys.
Wow. Play the over all day long, especially if
Really? You see, Peter, that's why they try to get you to play. They begging you to do it. That's called a trap. If you cannot play the under, stay away from it. This is where this is again where this team in Tampa Bay, Kansas City's catching them at the right time. They're still banged up. Kansas City doesn't have the same type of defense that the Green Bay Packers had.
Dallas.
They're not going to have to pass the ball as much because they want to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. So therefore, you're going to see more of a game plan like you did in Week 1.
Less possession.
That's correct. You're going to have a lot more running. Stick it up their ass a little bit with the running game and work off the play action and get field position by playing defense.
Hey,
so contrary to what you're saying, Peter, unless Kansas City gets up to a quick lead, that's the only way that this game goes over. In my opinion, Kansas City scores 12 points in this game.
Hey, Pete. Side note.
Yeah.
Side note.
That's right. 12 points.
Side note, in NHL preseason hockey tonight, the Hurricanes defeat Tampa Bay 5-1. So I just wanted to throw that in. I thought they were going to cancel that game. I guess they ended up playing it.
All right, so the Lightning lose a preseason game to the
Hurricanes.
Curtis, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate it. Use that second call, my friend. All right.
Curtis.
I got one thing for you guys.
One more. Okay.
I think Mike Evans is going to have a monster game Sunday.
Yes, we need that, baby.
I like it.
I think he's upset, and I think he's going to have a monster game. And Harry, for you, I love Justin Fields. That kid.
What?
Oh.
That kid
What?
What?
Man. What? All right. Will you shut up and be quiet?
Shut up! In all seriousness, Justin Fields looked like a deer in the headlights on Sunday. That was scary watching that game against Houston. How
that was the first half. The second half, man, that kid looked like.
No, he didn't. He didn't play that good in the second half either.
That's okay. That's again. Puff, puff, pass. Have a good night, bro.
Curtis, I get your point because you know what? This Bear organization has not set him up.
Now you guys are trying to get me all fired up. Where's my boy Mike Hughes and Fat Mike and everybody else here to defend me a little bit?
No, I'm with you. Fields did not play well at all. He is struggling big time.
All right, fella. Go ahead, Curtis. Finish up.
I'm gonna say this. I know you guys gotta go. Did you watch any of that Dallas Giants game last?
The whole thing, baby.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched my wallet walking out the door with that game too.
Okay, listen. Daniel Jones has more talent around him than Fields.
Agree.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree with that.
And Daniel Jones is a turnover machine.
Yes. But Curtis, just because when the guy is open, I don't care who it is, he's not even close hitting these guys.
And ironically enough, the Giants and the Bears both have terrible offensive lines, and the receivers. Kadarius Toney still hasn't shown up for the Giants yet, and they don't have the wide receivers, and they don't have them in Chicago either. So you're making a go ahead.
Here's what I'll say, Ray. The Bears ran for 200 yards, so that should make the pass
200. Hold on. 200. Try again.
Higher.
280 something.
Okay.
The last time it was done, I think his name was, God rest his soul, Mr.
Sweetness.
Sir Walter Payton. Back in 1984.
So,
All right, go ahead, Jason.
the point is that should make the reads in the passing game much easier for Fields.
Yes.
And he just looks lost.
Yes, you're right. Totally.
Well,
You're so right, Jason.
Times he does look lost. He still is a second-year quarterback. The Bears' offensive line has to do a better job, but I know where Curtis is coming from. That kid is tough. Yes.
A W is a W.
Yes.
You're right. I had the Bears minus 2.5 and over 20 points. Harry the Greek over 20 at the gun. Carlos Santos at the gun.
No towel this week.
Yeah, that was funny. We were watching the game. I was like, hey, wait a minute. What's he doing? He's got to drive the dry field. What's his towel? Remember, Ray?
Shut up. Curtis, go ahead. Finish up.
No, I just was saying, man, I would take Fields over Jones any day, man.
Absolutely.
Yes, I
Good
agree with
stuff.
that.
All right, let me give you the Ric Flair. Let me give you the Byron.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Appreciate it, Curtis. There you go. Let's go out to these comments, read them, and then
Hang on. In the words of Fat Mike, Justin Fields is the softest puppy shit.
He would say that too.
Wow. All right. Let's
Push it back in. Push it back in.
I'm sorry. That's not nice. It's not fair. The guy's only had a year. I mean, it's not fair to evaluate him. Let's see. He still has the hitch in his throwing motion. He starts from Texas, and the ball's coming out in Minnesota.
Well, wait, though, Harry, he had Matt Nagy for a coach, and now he's got a defensive-minded coach. Who's teaching him how to play quarterback? Did Jim McMahon come back? Is he channeling
Luke Getzey, the offensive coordinator.
Luke Getzey, hold on. So he's got the hitch in the throwing motion. Okay, the big hitch. It's not a little hitch, guys.
It is.
It's
a
a long hitch. It starts all the way down here in
Is
Texas.
it Jameis
And
Winston
all
hitch, or is it a Byron Leftwich hitch?
no.
It's a Jameis Winston
This
hitch, plus.
Jameis Winston looks like he's Dan Marino compared to this hitch. Okay,
Oh, that's terrible.
okay. Number one, two. He can't stop throwing off his back foot, and three, the coaching staff does not believe in this young man, and that's the problem.
That
Okay.
is the main problem, and
That's the problem.
That is
And-
stupid. You just drafted him. You gave up multiple premium picks for a player, and now all of a sudden you want to reset again like you're the Arizona Cardinals. I mean,
But if they get their crap together, and next year they have that $110 million, $110 million now, it'll be 130 by the time it comes in cap space. There's going to be no more hiding. Okay, they will build this team just like they built the Philadelphia Eagles really quick with the one question mark. Will the quarterback take them to their promised land? In Philadelphia, it's starting to look like it's going to, but I promise you, that quarterback in Philadelphia, if he does the same thing that he did last year, off with his head, baby, because it ain't going to be around.
It ain't going to do it,
Peter, remember this. This coaching staff and this GM did not draft Justin Fields.
There you go.
Yes.
well, and that's the problem. That's absolutely the problem. That is the ever-changing complexion.
But the other side of that coin is that you fire Lovie Smith and you give Dirk Carter the job because he's going to continue developing the guy you did draft. It's like 6 of one and half dozen of the other.
What? And in the words of Lovie Smith, Rex is our quarterback. Sound familiar? Because that's what Eberflus is going to be doing a lot this year. You know?
Justin should be the quarterback. Yeah. All right.
Yep,
Let's go to Sean here. The Raiders loss killed me. Didn't see that coming. We'll get back to that in a moment. Ben Cornett, Cowboys play against another mediocre defense this week in Washington. Sean says Tua looks so different. His deep ball looks so much better. Roger Shue says go Knowles. So
Acknowledge me.
Him on that. Sean says I like the Knowles back. That trio is legit. All right, Peter, what are you anticipating with Glasnow's role? Will he rejoin the Rays? He's supposed to. Hopefully he gives him that boost with that starting rotation. It may be too little too late at this point.
Put him in the bullpen. You'll get more out of him right now.
He'll be a 2 or 3 inning guy at best.
Just put him in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Right now, it's a 1-game season for these Rays. When they get to that postseason, it's going to be that wild card. So
it's going to be the wild card, and you're going to have to go through, of course, the Yankees and the Astros, and they've struggled against the Astros this year. Also, here he is going to be safe from the hurricane. Be well, gentlemen. David says,
Thanks,
I'm a Florida State fan, and after we won in week 0, I joked to my friend and said, let's see what lasts longer, Florida State's winning streak or a team picked on the active roster. That is good. I actually like that one. Very good.
That's good.
Mike Hughes says, I call in, but Harry's voice
Mike
me act up. What a stud.
Mike
Hughes is a stud too. Tell you what,
Mike on the mic.
Mike is great.
Let's go out to one of my friends here, Mr. Raider James. Raider James, welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Chicago Sports, Jason Powers, Powers on Sports podcast, and of course, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. What do you have to say about your 0-3 Raiders? Go ahead.
Oh, it's going to be the best division in football.
What's going on? Are you there?
Oh, I'm here. I'm just listening to all this nonsense.
Whoa. What have we said that is not true about this team at this juncture?
Well, hold on. It could be having something to do with me going.
What is going on in Las Vegas? Is it the coaches, the quarterback? What's going on over there? I don't know.
I mean, answer this question, Harry, the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire.
I'd love to.
Jason and Tampa Bay Ray. But first, Harry, what is going on with the Raiders this year?
Well, I won't do it again. Okay, but I was thinking it.
Appreciate it.
I was thinking it. What's going on with this team? Honestly, they haven't gelled together. This reminds me a lot of what happened with the former team called the Washington Redskins did, because it's not fair to give the last two Washington teams names like that. If you remember, there was a particular defensive tackle, and Albert Hainsworth, I think, was his name, and they paid him an ungodly amount of money. They paid a quarterback, they paid a running back, they paid wide receivers, and they built this entire team. And quite frankly, they shit the bed. Not the same scenario, but very, very, very close. Okay. It was a shame what happened against Arizona. I think Arizona got very lucky to come back inside that game. I don't think you're ever going to see that I don't think you'll ever see that mistake again, in my opinion. I watched the game. They should have beat them. Honest to God, you line them up their next 10 times, they don't lose. Okay. They're just running into some bad luck. Don't give hope being a Raider fan, especially in Raider Nation. Your team isn't dead. It's in a very tough division, as I'm kind of laughing when I say that, because honestly,
you're reaching.
The Chargers aren't playing very well. Kansas City's going to have another loss, and if they get into the win column, that means they're only going to be a game back. It's not the end of the world, guys.
Not really the end of the world, because it's early in the season. And, of course, you mentioned the Chargers. They lost Rashawn Slater, their left tackle. That's a major loss. You already have Justin Herbert, who has fractured ribs. You have their number one wide receiver that's banged up. So there is hope, but right now the Raiders are in purgatory, if you will. Jason Powers, what do you make of this Raider team?
I wouldn't go that bad.
Here's the problem with the Raiders that I don't like, and I don't know if it's ever going to get fixed. David Carr is just not a good late game throw that touchdown pass when it's third or fourth down. I mean,
Derek Carr. Well, he's been playing like David Carr, but Derek.
Yeah, he has.
In the fourth, I mean, in the playoff game last year at Cincinnati, they get stopped inside the 10. In week 1, they have a chance to beat the Chargers. Can't get it in the end zone. Last week, they have a chance to get the 2-point conversion. Bad throw on the 2-point conversions. I just don't know if Derek Carr, and I know they just gave him a bunch of money, so he's going to be there for a little bit, but man, and I just don't know if the defense is good enough. They invested all the money in the offense this offseason. The defense is still not very good.
Go ahead.
We did do some improvements on defense, obviously, but obviously it's not enough.
Well, not some. They made a lot of improvements on that defense.
Yeah, but guys, I've seen this movie before. I saw Josh McDaniel, who made Tom Brady the greatest of all time, go to Denver a decade and a half ago, and then he shit an egg. And I saw him go back to New England. I saw him almost go to Indianapolis, but then he got cold feet at the last second and stayed in New England. And now he's back in Vegas. They bring in Devontae Adams, and him and Derek Carr are going to go back to Fresno State, was it? Or the college? I forget.
Fresno, yep.
Right, and they're going to all of a sudden make things happen. It's just I've never seen. Not only have I never seen Josh McDaniels' offenses played with passion, unless it was Tom Brady supplying that passion, but I've never seen a Josh McDaniels coach team play with passion, and it seems like maybe there's a disconnect there. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Well, maybe it's just
back to my question: is it the coach or is it the quarterback?
Well, I think it's a combination of things, but what the guys are saying here on the panel is Josh McDaniels has never proven to be a head coach. I mean, all his success is kind of linked to Tom Brady. I mean, even with the Denver Broncos, he was 5-0 or 5-1 with Tim Tebow at the time.
You can also include Bill Belichick in there with Josh McDaniels.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And there's some guys, and you would agree with this, James, and the whole panel here, is that some guys are just better coordinators than their coaches. And unfortunately, Josh McDaniels may be a better offensive coordinator than a head coach, because there's a lot more than calling the offense. It's about, game planning. It's about, yes, go ahead, Jason.
Peter, have we overrated Derek Carr?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you think? You've been a Raider fan for how long?
Who is the one guy that's been there for the last 8 years?
I mean, it's Derek Carr. And who's the guy that Tom Brady called out and said, you're going to go with that mother?
That guy. Yes, that was
him. That's Derek Carr. Because, and look, I hate to say this, James, but you were very close to getting Tom Brady, because Rob Gronkowski, Dana White were trying to work it out with the Raiders at the time to make that deal happen. And John Gruden, your favorite coach, decided to say, well, you know what? We're going to go with Derek Carr. So there you go.
With Griswold, at least he can stand there and say, Vegas.
Well,
Vegas.
All right. So you guys, who are you playing? Harry, who are the Raiders playing this week?
I can
Denver.
tell you right now, they
I know
are
who they're
playing
playing.
Denver.
They're
If
playing
I'm
Denver.
not mistaken, Denver is actually on the road, and they're only a 2.5-point underdog. I'm going to tell you right now, the Raiders, yes, Raider Nation, they get it right this week, and
I
they
agree.
actually
I
win
think so
big.
too. I agree.
They win big.
Okay, all right. So Raiders get the win this week. You're confident? I mean, for me, they got to get a win this week. It's a must-win game. If not, it's curtains for that team. And as crazy as it sounds, I mean, gentlemen, with all the money that they invested, are you trying to fire Josh McDaniels in the first year?
No. You got Devontae Adams now for 100 years. You can't. You got to hope it works out there.
I got a question for you. Okay, and anybody can take this. So, was it Devontae Adams that made Aaron Rodgers? Or did it Aaron Rodgers make Devontae Adams? I like to stir up the poo-poo soup sometimes, guys.
I think it's a combination of both, right?
Yes, it's both.
What you're seeing right now with Aaron Rodgers is he doesn't have the wide receivers, so he's not necessarily putting up the best statistics, if you will, but he's still managing to find ways to win. Devontae Adams, on the other hand, highly successful receiver, probably the best receiver in the game. He's still putting up good numbers.
What,
so
this year?
Not as good as with Aaron Rodgers and of course the Packers. I think that's a fair point.
That's what I'm talking about. You see, look,
here's the pressure with the Raiders. Does Derek Carr try to force the ball too much to Devontae Adams at the expense of not getting Waller throws, Renfro throws, or whoever's open throws?
That's a good point. It's a good point. And I mean, Harry, it always happens when you sign a free agent wide receiver, that quarterback is trying to force the ball, a la Jameis Winston to Deshaun Jackson. All the way back here, Tampa Bay Ray, Alvin Harper comes to town. He's going to be the number one wide receiver. You're trying to force the ball to him. It doesn't work because some wide receivers are not meant to be ones. And then also, not saying Adams isn't, but also the defenses are looking for it. So all those weapons that you had in Green Bay, and I get it, Aaron Rodgers always says, I don't have the weapons, but he does have weapons there. All those weapons that you had, you only have one now and an Adams.
Just thank God I didn't have
to
sharp paranoid.
They got plenty of weapons
but
in
they're not utilizing them. They're not just.
He's gone. Raider James is gone.
How about them Bucs, baby?
All right, I tell you what, let's read the rest of these comments, and then we'll get somebody else here in the fray of the evolution of sports talk television.
Damn right. Bring him in.
Bring it on.
Let's see here. The drops with these wide receivers have to stop. Last year was the same thing. The drops, not only the drops, but also the fumbles. I mean, 2 on Sunday cost this team dearly. Fields is God, says Roger Shue. I guess
acknowledge me.
Acknowledge that. Us Gator fans are hoping Hurricane Ian blows up Choke Campbell Stadium, and this is what you get.
That was good, though. That was good.
That was kind of good, but I'm not going to give it to him. Anyone who thinks this is a great or good coach is smoking on the pipe. So with that being said, let's go out to Mr. Mike Hughes here. Chicago.
My brother.
Look at this. This is an honor, Mike. This is an honor, brother.
Hey, man.
Hang on, Mike. Mike, I got something for you, brother. Ready? Here. Can you
go ahead? What do you got?
Here, grab it. Here. Puff. Okay. Here you go. Here you go.
All right. There we go. Mike Hughes, welcome to the Evolution. What do you have to say about this conversation involving the Raiders, the Bucs, your Bears? Go for it, my friend. Welcome.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. It's always a blast seeing Harry again. It's always a blast seeing Pete.
My boy, you see that?
It's always great seeing you guys, man. It's great meeting you guys too. But for the Bears, and I'll get it out of the way because 1, it's one of the most irrelevant conversations, and 2, I'm tired of talking about it. But I want everybody to have a mind of their own for the first time in a long time. I'm really tired of, and this isn't a shot at any of you guys. It's just what you've been seeing through social media and what you've been seeing on TV. A lot of people look at the quarterback first, and I think that's complete and utter BS. It's insane to me that everybody's saying that they don't trust Justin Fields. I think they don't trust themselves to be able to call a play. I feel 13 years old again watching Mark Trestman call plays. We're seeing bubble screens on 3rd and 16, and I don't even know what's going on. Darnell Mooney, who, and let's be real, and Harry knows as Bears fans, we really love to stretch out the reality of what our players are and what we have, thinking Trey Burton was a number 1, thinking Adam Shaheen was a good idea when George Kittle was on the board. You're looking at all these intangibles. The reality is the intangibles that are Darnell Mooney, and I love Darnell Mooney. He's a dog. JF1 to Air Mooney, that's my favorite thing to say. We haven't said it a lot this year, but I think it's something, you look at him as a 2 or a 3 on a championship caliber team. Anybody that legitimately thought he was going to emerge the number 1 wide receiver has never looked at the game of football. And I think right now, you look at this offensive line, Borum is struggling, Braxton Jones is struggling. Oh, but they're top 10 in stopping or in blocking for the pass. Well, okay, well, you pass 11 times a game. So, I mean,
hang on.
From that perspective, I mean, if you look at it,
hang on, bring us together. Hold on. We got 5 people here. I'll be the center, Ray.
I'm tight end.
There's only 5 men in an offensive line. Right here, we probably have a better starting offensive lineman than the Bears do right now. Okay, let's just be honest. You know what? I got to chime in on what Michael was saying. He's absolutely correct. I'm going to have been the one that's been absolutely first time critical about Justin Fields. It's not all his fault, and you're right. No. It has something to do with play calling, but it also has something to do with talent.
Right.
Damn it, Mike, you hit it right on the head. There's just not enough talent around him. But the bottom line is this, Mike. They ruined Jay Cutler, who was arguably the best quarterback that this franchise has ever had, statistically, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. Yes, even better than the almighty Jim McMahon. They ruined Mitchell Trubisky. I don't care what anybody says about it, and they're on their way of ruining another quarterback because they don't want to surround them. Because you know why, Mike? It's about this. Right. They have cap space. Okay, but they're waiting for that $110 million or more next year. It's just a shame what they're going to end up doing to such an iconic franchise. If they don't ruin them, they're going to be just fine. And it does sound good. Justin Fields, the Darnell Mooney.
Hey, Harry.
But Brian Pringle, he can be a number 1 on this team. And so can the young man who got hurt from, what's his name? N'Keal Harry? No. I like him. I like N'Keal Harry.
Did you say Byron Pringle?
Byron Pringle is not a number 1.
Did you just say Byron Pringle?
Byron Pringle is not a number 4 on this constructed roster.
I got bad news for you.
Byron Pringle?
Hey, listen, I got bad news for you guys. I watched the tape on it again. The 3 routes that I actually seen him run were absolutely precise, and then he got hurt.
And that's that's the thing. That's fine. But if you take away those 3 routes and put in his entire career, it's a different conversation. Now, Velus Jones, I'm a Vols fan. They're 4-0, by the way. Yeah, Velus. My bad. I always butcher his name.
You're talking about Velus Jones, the guy that can't catch a pass?
You're talking about N'Keal Harry, who couldn't create space if he was on open water?
Yeah, but I understand that. But Velus Jones can't block anybody in the running game, and the Bears ain't passing it anytime soon.
That kid is a project. Out of everybody outside of Darnell Mooney, he's the only one I look at and hope. There's a reason Bill Belichick gave up on N'Keal Harry, who that kid can't catch a football, one. And if he can, he's not open. And that's just the other thing. And everything, Peter talks about it all the time in Tampa. They create space. Even Scotty Miller can create space, and N'Keal Harry just can't.
Please,
Scotty Miller couldn't catch a cold.
Please stop with the Scotty Miller talk.
Hey, hang on. You know what I love about this? You know what I love about this, guys? We got 2 people down here talking, and the 3 Buck fans that are above us going, I remember these days.
No, but hey, Harry, I was going to tell you that you're talking about that $110, $130 million cap space going on next year, but you know what the biggest damn shame is in 2022? This NFC North division, it's ready to be rocked by somebody new, and the Bears are missing their chance because they're waiting for the next year instead of having been ready to go for it this year because with the Lions starting to take over, the Packers coming back, the Vikings not knowing what the hell way is up. The Chicago Bears, I think they're still going to make some serious motion before the season is done. I still like them in this division.
They're the worst. They're the worst first place team I personally have ever witnessed in my
Harry,
life.
I told you,
and if they beat the Giants next week, are you kidding me?
But hey, Mike, Mike, do you agree with me? Roquan Smith last week. Roquan made that performance last week made sure that Chicago is going to have to pay him every dime he needs. They can't let him go now, Kenny, especially if he backs that performance up the rest of the season.
Hey, Mike, do me a favor. Tell them what the management actually.
Wow. Yeah. The reality of the situation is, and Darius or Shaquille, whatever you want to call him, I don't care. He is not even sniffing his jock strap when it comes to how close he is. And Roquan Smith, he's a dog. I love him. I love what he does for the community. He's a Georgia boy at heart. He's got that tough grit. He's a blue collar guy. but you are not the highest paid linebacker in NFL history. He's just simply not. And what it comes down to is desperation. The Chicago Bears are in a situation where you're desperate. And that's why I love Ryan Poles for what he does, is because he's not falling into that. 3 years ago or even last year with Ryan Pace, he would have folded under the pressure and extended Roquan, making him the highest paid linebacker. But the reality is, he, with the torn pecs, with all the other issues he's had, and you look at other things, the biggest thing about Roquan, and I've said this to a bunch of my buddies who play overseas, you need an agent. And him not having an agent in his ear is exactly why he hasn't gotten a top 4 linebacker contract right now.
Do you pay him $18 million a year though?
18, yeah.
18.
Right now,
do you pay him 18, not the 22, but do you pay the guy 18?
I'll pay him. I would pay him 14 to 17 and a half, something along those lines.
You're losing him.
Harry,
Yeah.
and that's fine. That's fine though. Like, I don't care. Like, that's the thing. You look at it for what it is, Harry. Let's be real about it. Lance Briggs, Brian Urlacher, Roquan Smith, Khalil Mack, the list goes on. How many chips do they have?
Damn.
None. And that's what it is, bro. That's what it is.
You have to have a couple of foundational. You have to have a couple of foundational guys on your roster,
right?
100%.
For stability, for consistency.
100%. And draft.
And to me, again, I don't pay him top of the market dollar disposition, but I would definitely pay him $18 million.
I think Peter's trying to talk.
Well, Mike.
Listen, this is the same thing the Bucs are going into right now with
Devin White. Yeah,
Devin White's going to get paid. So the market at the end of the day is definitely going to determine it.
Well, Pete, ask Mike though. Would he pay Devin White money to stay? Would you take Devin White, Mike?
Okay,
as the highest paid linebacker,
it's going to be what it is. It's going to be what it is. It's going to be what it is. You've seen Devin now? What would you've seen the sample size?
It's not. It's you have to see. The thing is, and what I love about it, and Roquan hit it on the head, but he kind of contradicted himself. It would be awful for him to be able to sign that contract because it wouldn't do the linebacker position a service. Yeah, you're right, because then anybody's getting any money at any time. You're looking at guys that are just getting paid to get paid. I mean, you're looking at that linebacker on the Lions who has all the heart in the world. I love him, Rodriguez. He does his thing. But you're looking at that guy trying to make $12 million now, and he wasn't nothing coming out of the draft. He works his ass off. Don't get it twisted. But, right now, if Ryan Poles signs that check, that messes up the entire market of what a linebacker is really worth. I love Roquan. He is second team All-Pro. He has not a single first team All-Pro. He does not have not even half the amount of forced fumbles that a guy like Shaquille Leonard has. It's just. And it's not a disrespect. I love Rowe for what he is. But what he is a top 7, top 5 linebacker in this league. And I'm not about to make you a generational paid player because you're not. And that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. But to me, it goes back to what Jason said. You got to have foundational pieces. And if you think that Smith is a foundation piece, you're going to be forced to sign him. If he has performances like he did on Sunday, 16 tackles with basically a clinching interception, you're going to have to be forced to pay him, and that's okay because he's.
Let me ask you something, Peter. And here's the problem, and I'll leave it at this because obviously, I've said how I felt about it. But the big thing is, why are you paying White generational type money? Because you're in a win now.
Well, because you're paying.
You see my jersey right there, Peter?
He's next. It's more economical.
Am I in a position where
he's next up?
I need to care, Harry. Are we?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Devin White.
Really? See ya.
Is a linebacker that you're going to have to pay because he means so much to this team. He can turn it on. He can change games. We saw this 2 years ago in the postseason versus the Saints. We're going to see it. He nearly had a pick 6 this year. He's a tackling machine. Mm-hmm. He just needs to get the fundamentals. That's the reason why you're paying him, because you don't want him to go to the Saints, or you don't want him to go to another team.
But Pete, if Levante David was a third-year linebacker, you wouldn't even think twice about paying Devin White because it's Levante and David together, right? So Devin White is a fantastic beast, but I think what Mike is saying, that he's also a product of the system with Levante David, and you're paying him, of course, if Levante's getting near the end. So yeah, Devin's going to be your consistency, Jason Powers in the middle, right? So we're talking about two different fundamentals here, but I think at the end of the day, we're all correct in our own certain way.
Jason, go ahead.
I was going to say, it goes back to the quarterback market. Was Dak Prescott worth $45 million when he got paid?
Oh,
hell no. But that was when he was the next guy up. And Roquan's the next guy up from a middle linebacker perspective. He and Devin White. I agree. Do the Bears probably have to overpay him a little bit to keep him? Probably, because I think he's the kind of guy that I think ultimately you need to have a quarterback of the defense. You can't keep rotating linebackers, middle linebackers every 4 years.
You know what? And he hit that right on the head. Look, it's unfortunate. It's not always the best players that are going to make the most money
Right.
at their position. It's just right. It's the next guy up. Do I think Roquan deserves a raise? Absolutely. Yeah. I do. After watching him, he has played extremely well for this particular organization, especially with this regime of coaching. He's not the prototypical linebacker for this type of defense. But let's face it, guys, and I'm not trying to put him in the same category. Brian Urlacher was not drafted as a linebacker. He was drafted as a safety who filled into a linebacker position when Warwick Coleman and my boy, who was the other linebacker that he took over for?
I forget his name.
How can we forget his name?
Briggs?
My God.
Not Briggs.
No. There was Warwick Coleman, and there was Roosevelt Colvin, who ended up going over to the New England Patriots. Yeah. And let me tell you something. Roosevelt Colvin, that boy was a stud.
He was a good player.
An absolute stud. He got hurt. One game. Here comes Urlacher. The rest was over.
Well, Harry,
I've never seen anything like it.
Let me say, though, when I asked Mike that question, and Mike, brother, it's an honor listening to you just spit because I love watching all your shows too, brother. But thanks, I prefaced my first question with Roquan Smith gets paid if he continues to perform the rest of the season the way he did on Sunday. He's still got to do another 14 games, right? But I still love the points you're making. I totally agree, and I get where you're coming from. It's two schools of thought here, and it's interesting to get into this.
But I like it. I like it a lot. I think, and I hate being so and I've said it on the pod a few times where I have to defend Roquan after I literally just shit on Roquan. But I love him. I love every part of it. I love everything he does. That was awesome. But I think the big thing about it, Harry and I talked about it, was the problem is you're in year one of this rebuild. And that's a big part of why Justin Fields is getting so much knock. Peter knows, and Harry knows, everybody on this panel knows. Typically, in year one of a rebuild, the quarterback of the future isn't even there yet. And that's the big problem is Justin Fields is taking flack for something that's not his fault. And Roquan Smith is in a situation where, just like with White, okay, we're in a championship window right now. Tom Brady has minutes left before Giselle leaves them. And you're looking at it from that perspective. We need to pay White because we have a championship window right now. For me, and Peter, this is where I'm coming from with it. Say we make him the highest paid player. And it takes us 3 more years to even have a conversation about making the playoffs. We just wasted 3 years for what?
Yeah, but every bad team has 2 or 3 big high-priced guys that you have to keep.
100%. But that's the thing. They didn't draft this kid. We don't need this kid. And the big thing about it, and it's all about that market. It's all about that intangibles. I know a lot of guys I know that have these business degrees and they try to make sense of it to me, but it just doesn't. It just doesn't. When you're looking at it from the perspective of what it is, and you hit it on the head perfectly, you can't keep switching linebackers like that. But to Harry's point, he does not fit the system of what it is. And that's why, as much as we want to look at the stats and say he looked great all season so far, he looked awful against Green Bay. Let's call it for what it was.
Yeah, he did.
The stats were there, but that was in dead ball time. He does not fit what Eberflus is doing, which is why I wanted Dable from the get-go, because I just felt like it would be better for what the future of this team wants. I love
Isn't he a classic 4-3 middle linebacker in the culture, or a 4-3 team with Eberflus, with Shaq Leonard?
No. Let me hit this one on the head for him a little bit more. We're going to go back to the Green Bay game. The reason why he did not look really good in that game is because the horses that are in front of him cannot keep the guards. Listen, the guards were getting on him and they're getting their hands on him. Let me tell you something. Do you know how you nullify a Lance Briggs or a Brian Urlacher, especially an Urlacher, is let a center and a guard get their hands on him. Urlacher couldn't shake a tackle if he tried.
Right.
That man was faster than Usain Bolt from sideline to sideline. Okay. Roquan Smith plays with a different type of intensity. What you've seen in the following week, after the Green Bay game is that they were playing a little bit more of 8 men in the box because they knew exactly what Houston was going to do, and they were forcing Houston and they were daring them to pass. Unlike what happened from before when they had to play in that base defense, that's when Roquan Smith is going to struggle because he cannot stay gap disciplined in those defenses because those guards are coming up on him and they're running right down his throat. That's why he doesn't fit in that system. In that other 4-3 system that they're running down in Indianapolis, they do not run always a 4-man front. They will run a lot of 5-man rotations on the front of them, where they only have 2 linebackers out there, which are running side to side. So essentially, what's happening is that outside linebacker is sometimes playing into a safety position or dropping back into the run. I'm not trying to get too technical, but those are the 2 glaring differences between Indianapolis's defense, Tampa's defense, and Chicago's defense. Even though Eberflus is in Chicago, it's not a complete mirrored image. He's trying to bring in a different wrinkle. It's almost like a hybrid.
But I would also say, look at Devin White. If Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh aren't in front of him, how good is Devin White?
100%. That's definitely something you got to take into it too. If Khalil Mack was still here, if Robert Quinn actually fit the system, there would be. Yeah, and obviously all those guys too. And I think, that's a huge part of it. Eddie Goldman's being missed right now, even though, the debacle that was going into the last 2 years. But it's something for me, like I look at it for what it is. These linebackers, as much as I love them, as much as I'll hang them up on my wall, and I love Peyton and I love all those guys, Peyton's the only one that got any flock with it. He's the only one that got a chip. And those guys out there are the only one. And Dick Butkus too. They weren't Super Bowls, but they were championships. But the problem with it in today's modern era, and Peter figured it out, got Tom Brady. And that's exactly what it is. You need weapons. You need something. You need to be able to do this. We saw the Bengals with an average defense. And I told Harry all playoffs, it was me, Charnow, and Harry, and we talked about it. And I said the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl off rip. And it was because they don't have a generational player like Roquan. They have veterans, and those guys are cheap. And all you need is guys with playoff experience and a high-powered offense, and you can do whatever the hell you want to do.
All right, well, let's go out to the phone lines here. What's your name? Where you calling from? Let's see here who this is. Welcome to the Evolution.
Springer on Grove Terrace with Harry the Greek.
Oh, Lord. Hi, Trish.
I didn't know if 3 guys today.
I can't hear her. What happened? Trish, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear her just fine. She's asking if the other guys are in Florida. I'm in Florida right now. I know Harry's in Florida. Of course, Jason's in Florida. Mike is in Chicago as we await for the Category 3 storm known as Hurricane Ian, which actually could get a little bit stronger at this point. So, yeah, we're just we are riding it out here. Welcome to the Evolution. What else do you want to talk about?
Just great going with the football. Enjoy the show.
Thank you. All right, I'll go ahead and give you the Byron Left.
How about them Bucs, baby?
I'll give you the Ric Flair. Appreciate it, Trish. Thanks a lot.
Hi, Trish.
All right, good stuff there. We always love to hear from fans that say, hey, you're doing a great job. I tell you what, let's go ahead and read these comments, and then we'll get you out of here for the night. He threw ducks with wide open receivers. He's not that good. Talking about Justin Fields, that's what Jeff says.
What's up, Jeff? My boy from Chicago, right up in your neck of the woods. Matter of fact, doesn't live too far away from you, brother.
Barkley. Hey, Peter, can I take this one? What happened last time Barkley played the Bears?
Go ahead.
Wait a minute. It's called a torn ACL, baby.
Oh, yeah, right. My knee hurts. Get out of here. Goodbye.
All right, so there you go. My knee hurts. Jason Powers, any comment on Barkley versus the Bears? I mean, Barkley is healthy finally. Can the Giants get over on top of the Bears here, or will the Bears win this game, in your opinion?
Maybe Barkley will find his ACL still on the 10-yard line. But, hey, who knows?
That'll be the first team to 17 wins.
Actually, no. I'm going to tell you what. On this game, honestly, after watching it really in depth, I think it's going to be a nice running game. But this is the game that Justin Fields actually gets it right. Okay. This is the game that Justin Fields will probably throw for 200 to 225, probably get 2 or 3 TDs. The problem is if they can limit his turnovers, whether they're fumbles or interceptions. What I watched with that New York Giant defense, it really wasn't that pretty whatsoever. However, with that being said, I think Chicago scores anywhere between 24, and you're ready, Jason, up to 35 points in this game. This is definitely an overplay. And FYI, It's the lowest total of the week. They're at 39. So
Yep.
bet it early and go over in this game. If you don't want to pick a side, bet the over. These are two bad teams. And what do I always say? When two bad teams play, bet the over.
Kind of like Seattle and Atlanta last week.
That's good.
Yeah, kind of. That's a really good analogy.
All right, Troy Polamalu says, shout out to all the peanut sweepers. I don't know what that means.
That's
all right.
me.
Okay. Bulls need to sign LaMelo. Hello. Jeremiah says, what's Levante David making? Not as much as Devin White is going to make, but because David has made a lot in his career and now is on somewhat of the decline, although he's a major factor of what Devin White's development is all about. Jeremiah says, Marcus Carrier. Guys, Peter wants to talk soccer. This is what I want to say to you.
Shut up!
Let's go.
Hey,
out
Peter.
What's wrong
Peter,
with soccer?
The U.S. did draw with Saudi Arabia today in a World Cup friendly.
Well, breaking news, the New York Yankees finally wrapped up the AL East as they won another title there. So congratulations to the Yankee fans out there. There you go.
Judge walked 4 times today.
Oh, there you go. And still has not hit a home run yet. So we'll see what happens if he can break that record. The real record, by the way, not held by Barry Bonds. I don't care what anybody says. Barry Bonds is a cheater. Mark McGwire's a cheater. And as horrible as this is to say, because I grew up watching him and admiring him from
You
afar,
can throw Sammy in that if you'd like.
Sammy Sosa is a cheater. We need another big man in the middle like Sue that can close holes.
Hold on, but you know who wasn't a cheater from that era?
Who's that?
It's a Southsider, buddy. You know who I'm talking about, right, Mr. Mikey?
Mr.
Frank
Thomas, the big hurt. Absolutely.
That guy was just naturally huge.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he
Well,
was.
and that's the thing that I always get into this conversation with, because people will say, well, everybody was doing it at the time. No, they weren't. Frank Thomas wasn't doing steroids. Ken Griffey Jr. wasn't doing the steroids. But when you
But he does take Nugenics.
Yes.
And she'll like it too.
Well, absolutely. She will like it. All right, let's get back to the comment from Anthony here. I mean, you watch football, Mike. I know, Jason, you watch it too. Mike, let's go to you with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Akeem Hicks out with an injury for a month. Do they have enough, or do they need to sign an Ndamukong Suh, in your opinion?
Yuck.
I think the Sue experiment is over. I think you got a championship out of it, so that's, it was a great run. I think you can hold it down for now. I think you can hold it down and kind of just see what these young guys can do. It's next man up mentality. It always has been. Akeem is one of those guys that's still going to be present. He's always going to be present. He's always going to be aware, trying to help guys and be that leader. That was one of the big reasons to why the Bears didn't bring him back, was just because of all the injuries. So I think, a big part of it, it's just going to be next man up. It's going to be really fun to see him keep going.
Next man up, Jason, we'll get back to you in a moment. Let's go out to Curtis using his second call. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with Mr. Mike Hughes, Jason Powers on Sports Podcast, and my professional handicapper extraordinaire, Harry the Greek, 1252 Chicago Sports. Go.
I'm just getting back in here, man. Listen, I don't, Harry, this one's for you.
Okay.
Everybody wants to pick on Harry today, man.
No, Harry, you my boy. I love you, man, for real. Listen, I'm a huge Nebraska Cornhuskers fan, okay?
Oh, God. Wait a minute. Hold on. Did you say Cornhusker fan?
Jesus.
Hey, hold on. I don't want to hear that crap tonight, Pete.
You said crap. I mean, honestly, could a coaching hiring go as bad as it did in Nebraska?
And first of all, Scott Frost got paid. He just wanted to get paid.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. He went over there and he's cashing checks. Okay? That's what he's doing. But forget him.
That's okay.
He's about him right now.
Okay. All right, Curtis.
That guy.
Turn your gain up on your iRig.
Who, mine?
Yes. Not on your soundboard, not on your iRig, but on your soundboard. I'm having a very difficult time hearing Curtis. It's on your soundboard.
You think it is? All right, hold on.
Can you hear me now?
Just a little bit, not too much. I can hear you now. It's just your gain is down a little bit.
How's that? Go ahead, Curtis.
So, okay, here's my thing. I like Sue. I don't want him in Tampa this year. I like the rookie. I like Logan Hall, but I love Nacho. And Nacho's been there for all this time. Nacho deserves a chance, and Nacho's been holding his own.
Donkey Kong Sue needs to be sitting home with his kids.
Well, and I think that's what he's doing. And I think the most interesting thing is a lot of people say, well, bring back Sue. Well, there's a reason why the Bucs decided to move on because of a Logan Hall, because of a Nacho, because they have more youth at the end of the day. Also,
Right.
I always go back to the play at the end of the season where it looks like Sue is going to get Stafford, but he's like one step behind, right? He's kind of lost a step. So that's what the Bucs are considering. And I think if any NFL teams feel like Sue could contribute to them, he would have already been signed.
You
Jason,
will see, Peter, you will see Sue in about week 8 with a contender. One of these teams that's a contender, you will see Sue in a uniform week 8, week 9, something like that.
I could
He'll be
agree with
riding
that.
the bench.
I think he'll be somewhere, but I think, I forgot the caller's name, but to his point, I think the beauty of that is, that's desperation. Like if Green Bay really needs it, I could see it. If somebody else really needs it, I could see it. But the thing with Tampa is they got the young guys that can kind of step up and be that. So I think you're going to see that out of desperation more so than just, Sue looks great. I don't think he's ever, like Peter said, I don't think he's ever going to be like, okay, he looks really good again. But I definitely think, someone's going to get desperate.
And the Bucs are saving the $5 or $6 million of cap space that they have left for Gronkowski around Halloween.
all right.
I don't know about that one.
I agree. I completely agree with you on that. It'll be a nice Halloween trick or treat there to have Gronk back in the lineup. Go ahead, Curtis.
I'm going with my boy Harry. Harry said this. I'm pretty sure it was at the end of the year or before the season started. Sue was a businessman. Sue ain't worried about playing no football. If he comes back and he signs with a team, it's all about making that money. That's all it's about.
All right. Good stuff, Curtis. As always, let me give you. Yes, go ahead.
Because if he wanted to play, he would have already been signed and playing with someone.
All right. We'll give you the Byron Leftwich.
How about them
right
Bucks,
there.
baby?
Good call as always, Harry. I know you got to get out of here. We got to get out of here because I'm almost to my curfew, believe it or not. I don't want to wake the neighbors up here.
Yeah, that's for another show and another time. Plus, I got to get the Weather Channel on. We got to get the latest advisories on what's happening. Peter, Jason, thanks a lot for having me on tonight. And my boy, Mr. Mike Hughes, my neighbor, Mr. Ray Kennedy. You can find me. I'm Harry Greek on the over-under on 1252 Sports on Sunday morning. I don't know for how much longer. It's usually about 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. Of course, you can find me right here on the Sports Web as well. As I always say, keep your bets low and your returns high. Thank you so much for tuning in to me this evening, and we'll talk to you guys later. Mike, much love. Have a good time up there in Chicago.
You too, baby.
All right, good stuff. Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Chicago Sports. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution, all right?
Have a great night, Pete.
All right, well, finish up with you guys here. Let's read the rest of these comments. Logan Hall is fine. Mike, you talked about this. What do you see in Mr. Hall? Of course, you've seen him sack a Hall of Fame quarterback and an Aaron Rodgers. Good start to his career, right?
Yeah, I think Logan Hall is one of those guys that's just going to continue to impress people, or he's going to just remain a constant. I think, I wouldn't put a ceiling on him, but I also wouldn't, hold him to a certain standard. I think he can be whatever he wants to be. And I think that depends on him and how he continues to shape his career. But I think it's off to a really good start.
All right, Jason Powers, your thoughts, Logan Hall.
I agree. He's going to be he's probably never going to be a Pro Bowl kind of guy, but he's going to he'll have a long career. He's kind of like a William Golston. He's going to play very solid, never going to be, again, unless, he might develop more and more. We hope so. But if he can be a consistent contributor for 8 to 10 years, it's a hell of a career.
Don't tell William Golston that because he actually thinks he's the next J.J. Watt. In fact, he thought in camp that he was more athletic than J.J. Watt. Something to ponder. Just saying. Tim says, or are they saving the money for OBJ? Now, of course, this was a couple weeks ago. OBJ spotted with Tom Brady. We've heard about their relationship, if you will. OBJ saying Brady is a mentor to him. So what do we think, fellas? Over, under, how much is the percentage here that OBJ eventually signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Mike, go.
I would say under. Right now, I've held it to a standard, and I'm gonna keep riding with it. I think it's either he's gonna find a way back in LA, or I have the Bills, and for my dark horse, I actually have the Minnesota Vikings. I think him and Justin Jefferson's connection at LSU. Obviously, they didn't play together, but he was a big part of Justin Jefferson's development and really being a mentor for him. I think it could be huge, and especially if the Vikings kind of figure things out, kind of like Jason said. You know, that's definitely a conversation with Adam Thielen, JJ. You have Kirk Cousins, and you're looking at a Dalvin Cook. I mean, I think that's a solid roster right there. But more so Buffalo. I think Buffalo definitely could use him, especially with Cole Beasley now being in Tampa, with Gabe Davis and obviously Stephon Diggs, Knox, Allen. I mean, it's just a match made in heaven, especially with Von Miller too. So I think it'd be a lot of fun to see him in Buffalo.
Jason.
I think his availability with the Bucs will strictly be dependent on the production of Julio Jones and Beasley the next 6 or 7 weeks. Remember, we're not even sure. He blew his knee out in February, OBJ. There's no guarantee he's going to be ready to go by December.
Yeah.
We all think he's just going to be ready to go in December. I mean,
it's a good point. I tell you what, save that point. Let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Jason Powers on Sports Podcast, and Mr. Mike Hughes from Chicago. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Charles Richardson. What's going on?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing? How you hanging in there? You ready for this storm? Are you prepared? And what about your Patriots? What's going on?
Charles.
First off, I want to give a shout out to Mike. Mike.
Hey, baby.
Man, I love, what they're doing. It's, you know what? No offense equals a great team. I love it. I love what they're doing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And I hope your ankle sprain's doing just fine out there in New England.
Well, he's not. He's not. Trust me, he's not. We're looking at bringing in Minshew. Anyway,
I think you're gonna bring in Cam.
Oh, geez, please don't do that again.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. OBJ camp. Listen, if Brady wants.
That's it. That is the point right there. If Brady wants OBJ, no matter if they have 700 wide receivers on this team, they're going to have OBJ. And because of their relationship, and because this team is clearly going to be in the driver's seat later on in the season because they're going to be healthy, he can get the ring best here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's my opinion.
And also on top of that, because of the relationship Brady and OBJ have,
right?
They'll sign Odell to like a 12-pack of Lunchables and go play.
That's it.
Just I'm saying, it's like if Brady wants a Wednesday off because he has a senior moment, he gets a Wednesday off.
That's it.
If he wants to go ahead and take a couple of weeks off to go play the Masked Singer, he gets that time. Whatever the case may be. If he needs to go ahead and take a couple of weeks off because he's pending divorce, he'll get that time too as well. But what Brady wants, Brady gets. And as long as this is going to be his swan song. And the Bucs are going to do everything in their power to go ahead and get him to Arizona in February.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, what do you think of these distractions off the field? Of course, we heard from Brady during training camp there when he missed the 11 games, and he was asked about it, and he said basically in so many words, I'm going through, and I'm 45 years old. I mean, do you think this is going to be a distraction, or do you think that Brady will overcome this as soon as the Bucs get healthier at wide receiver?
Well, let me return that same question to you, Peter. Do you think that the Buccaneers offenses look any good in these 3 games period?
No.
For the receivers.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's had flashes, but they're definitely missing Gronk in the red zone. They're struggling on their offensive line. They're trying to get healthy. They're doing a lot of shuffling, and then of course missing a Chris Godwin and a Julio Jones not being there, and Mike Evans being suspended. No, they haven't. But once again, I do feel like this kind of stuff off the field is going to be the motivation that is going to lead him and lead this team to an eventual Super Bowl win.
You would think Brady would take something like that negative and turn it into a motivation, something that would be bulletin board material. But the problem is that this is a 45-year-old Hall of Fame quarterback that cannot take average receivers and make them great anymore. He needs great players around him. And when you don't have great players around him, either by injury or not participating in preseason for half the time and to get to know your people better, I'm sorry, you signed an NFL contract. You are supposed to be there to go ahead and be with your team, especially if you don't play it down in the preseason. You're going to go ahead and make sure you practice with your team no matter what. You have 6-7 months of off time. Spend the time with your family then.
But he did play in the preseason. He played against Indianapolis and went right down the field and scored.
Yeah, I know where everybody's going with that point. You're missing that 11 days, so you're trying to get accustomed to your wide receivers. I think eventually they're going to overcome it, and I think it's more injuries than anything else. But guys, just think about it, and I'll ask you this, Charles: could they be a team where they don't score a lot of points, but because of their defense, think back to the 2015 Broncos, and I don't think Brady's going to take this kind of I don't think he's going to go off the ledge like Manning did, 9 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. But could the Bucs, in your opinion, Charles, be that type of team where offensively they're not that explosive, but because their defense can keep them in the game, they're going to win a lot of close games?
No. Brady's never going to allow that to happen. And if he needs to go ahead and smash a few dozen freaking iPads, then so be it. But no, he's never going to allow that to happen. He's going to go ahead and take these games, shrug them off, and then get Evans back next game. Godwin's coming back because eventually Julio, hopefully it's not that serious. He's been practicing, I believe. So he's going to have his full array of receivers, and he doesn't have slouches for tight ends. Yes, granted, it's not Gronk, but he doesn't have slouches for tight ends, and the guy knows how to get rid of the ball. So even with a half-hearted offensive line, Brady's still getting the ball out in 2-3 seconds. He's not sitting there, and he knows how to work the pocket. So for 45 years old, he still has stuff on the ball. He can still play. And this is something that he just needs to get his mind right. I don't think his mind is right now.
Fair points. Good stuff, Charles. Anything else here on the evolution?
Yeah, we're about ready to get blown away. I'm located down here in Port Charlotte. They have that track rating right at us.
Oh, man. So, be safe. Hunker down.
This is my last phone call. This is my last phone call for a while.
Well, I'm going to give you the Byron Leftwich.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Appreciate you, buddy.
Yes. Go Pats.
Go Pats. I'll say it for you. Go Pats right there. Thanks a lot, Charles Richardson of the Charles Richardson Show, for calling the evolution of sports talk television. All right, my friend?
Take care.
Be safe. All right, there you go. Port Charlotte right there in possibly the eye. Let's talk about this really quick, and then we'll get out of here. Could they be, in your opinion, Mike, defensive team, the Bucs, not as explosive on offense, or eventually are they going to get it together?
I mean, I think they're going to be a competitive team. At the beginning of the year, I think the writing's on the walls when you look at what happens with the offensive line. So I think that's going to be the all telling on how this team is going to pan out. Even Leonard Fournette kind of took a step back when it comes down to, how much time he's really had. Now he's still producing. He's producing very well, at least in my opinion. And I think for what he's dealing with, it's definitely something to take in consideration that it's going to be a process. I think it's at a walking infirmary right now, and everybody's just waiting to get healthy all the way from the defense to the offense. And, once they're all back, I mean, we can have this conversation all day. Obviously, it's not a hot take to say they're probably going to be one of the favorites to come out of the AFC or the NFC. I don't know why I said that, but, it's something you really need to just look at for what it is and understand, this team is solid. This team is going to be good. And I think they're really going to be able to bounce back as long as guys can get healthy. But you also have to, like I said, it's a lot of this team is name value. Akeem Hicks, name value. Julio Jones is name value. Getting an Odell Beckham Jr., who's probably going to be rushed, if anything, name value. You really got to understand that, guys got to make plays, and you don't have everybody in their prime right now. So, and Tom Brady is as well. I'm not going to put him in a box and say, it's going to go down the way Peyton Manning went down with Brock Osweiler taking over part of the year. I don't see Kyle Trask doing that anytime soon. But it's trash. Yeah, it's definitely something, you look at for what it is and think, we need to be able to make the exact plays that you need to make. And I know that's a very, it's an obvious statement, but it is what it is. Like, that's straight up. Like, you don't have room for mistakes, and that's what it is. So I think Tom just needs to be Tom. You need to hold that level of standard that you always hold everybody to, and you got to be perfect.
All right, good stuff there. Great stuff. Jason Powers, your thoughts?
OBJ, and I'm just being honest with you, he's in his last opportunity to get paid, so he's not going to rush back this year to play, to rush back if his knee's not 115% healthy. He'll sit out the year and sign in the offseason as opposed to risking it and then hurting himself again. So this is I don't think you're going to see OBJ play this year. To be honest with you, when you blow your knee out in February, you're not going to be right in 8 months. Sorry.
And you blew out the same knee in a span of 14 months. So
exactly.
It's not happening. I don't think
you're going to see OBJ. I just really don't.
I think he'll be honest.
If you do, it'll be sign him, put him on injury reserve, and sign him to a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
So you have him for next year.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think he'll be on the sideline somewhere in Buffalo or something like that, but I don't think we're going to see him on the field.
Because he knows this is his last chance to get paid.
This is also his last chance to play with Tom Brady, and I think he'll do everything he can to make it to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Good stuff as always, guys. We're running out of time. Mike, go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution.
Oh yeah, man. You can find me at Mike on the Mic podcast. It's on all streaming platforms. I'm the host of the Skytown, sponsored by the WNBA. We cover everything Chicago Sky. We have post-game, pre-game interviews. We do our thing over there. You can find all those episodes on YouTube at Skytown, Mike on the Mic. We have interviews with Candace Parker, Allie Quigley, Kalia Copper, Courtney Vandersloot, the entire team. We break down everything WNBA, or you could find me at the All Sports All Plays Network. They do amazing things over there. They got great morning shows, over and unders that I know Harry would love, and it's been a blast being here, man. I missed you, Peter. I missed Harry. It's great meeting you as well, Jason. And I appreciate you guys having me on, man.
Always welcome here on the Sports Web Live on I Love St. Pete, the hub, and Amped Up Sports. Definitely don't be a stranger, my friend. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, good stuff there, Mike Hughes from Chicago. Let's go out to you, Mr. Jason Powers. Powers on Sports Podcast. Go ahead and promote yourself, my friend.
Yeah, I'm hosting three different things these days. Powers on Sports Podcast. We talk all things sports. Florida Football Insiders. We focus on the college football world in the state of Florida. I have Coach Jim Levin on every single week that we break it down. And I also host the No Quarter Given podcast with yours truly, Mr. Blake. We talk all things Bucs. We got our episode releasing on a Wednesday, which we'll be breaking down the Kansas City game and reviewing the Green Bay game. So that's an every week deal. So, yeah, appreciate you having me on, man, anytime you need me.
Absolutely. My tag team partner of the world. We were supposed to be out at Beef O'Brady's on Bush Boulevard, but of course, Hurricane Ian said, you know what? Take a day off. Take a week off. Good stuff, Jason. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution. All right.
And we're going to make that one up in October, fellas. So we'll give you the
good.
dates.
Plenty of wings, my friend. That's all you got to have. This pay me in wings.
You got it, buddy.
All right. There you go. Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. Let's go ahead and read these comments and we'll get out of here for the night. Or are they saving money for OBJ? We addressed that. Good stuff, Tim. If Julio is hurt, why not? Agree. Senate looked good. And Alan Bratcher, my guys, thanks a lot.
How about them Bucs, baby?
Appreciate all the time and the guests, especially with this situation going on with Hurricane Ian. Thanks to Harry, the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire at 1252 Chicago Sports. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Of course, Jason Powers there. Mike Hughes. The list just goes on and on and on here with the great guests that we had on tonight, but really appreciate it, especially Harry and Ray with being local. Guys, take care of each other. Take care of what's going on with your family. Make sure you're prepared for the storm because at any time it can change. And I'm not going to do the three things because I don't want to wake my neighbors up. But thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll be back soon here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Like and follow, of course, I Love St. Pete, The Hub, and Amped Up Sports. And, of course, like the Sports Web on YouTube. Three things. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Be safe, and we'll see you soon on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television.